Welcome back to the action. We've qualified one of our EMEA teams already for mid-season finals. Going to be joining Rejects, Gen G, Iconics, and OUG. They're going to be attending an event that hasn't been revealed where it is yet. It could be your mum's house. We don't know. Make sure she's got the kettle on, though, because we are going to qualify another team out of these two right now today. Virtus Pro Tetra.
The most recent world champions, unchanged essentially, like maybe one roster change since the days of Team Cats in Season 0 MRC, and they continue to win essentially everything for the entire history of Marvel Rivals, with the exception of Season 1 of Stage 1 and the mid-season and the qualifications for mid-season, which they did not make it to. Outside of that, they've won just everything. This is what a lot of people consider to be the best Marvel Rivals team that has ever existed. It's just a question of, they've lost to Na'Vi in the group stages this time. How are they finding this new meta?
And their challengers, Moxie, the undisputed wildcard crazy team of the region. I think it has to be Team Heretics, who have never actually played Virtus Pro, but they're a bit of a bogey team under previous names.
Yeah, we did not get to see them match up. They were in different groups for both preseason and in Stage 1. And then obviously VP ended up in the lower bracket run far sooner than a lot of people expected in the preseason, which meant that Heretics totally dodged them. So this is a great opportunity to see exactly where Heretics lies in the grand scheme of EMEA team hierarchy. We've seen the likes of Rad and Shikigami be able to punch up, but can they actually surpass Virtus Pro to take second seed, since they looked so solid in Group B, but Group B was nowhere near as close or competitive as Group A for our Stage 1. So I think for Virtus Pro, as Tetra said, it is a team that a lot of people would look at as being the strongest, but not currently the strongest. I think for Virtus Pro, that's more past tense. It's for a case of where is their strength now, as opposed to Heretics, where we get to see where their strength lies as well.
In the head-to-head, you're looking at the secret MVP, I think, of the grand finals with playing on this character of Phi. It was one of the things that really led to Virtus Pro looking the dominant team, but also one of the best melee players in the world of Tanuki, who got to show the world what he could do on Black Cat, but now that she's been declawed somewhat, Daredevil, despite being nerfed, is still looking to be a top character for Tanuki to be picking and playing.
It's still a solid option. It still does a lot of damage. The Daredevil is just working. He did get a bit of a scouting reduction, we'll say it to be in a non-insensitive way, but it's still doing the job. You can still see people approaching it. You can still burst someone from 100 to 0 without much difficulty. The Daredevil is doing work, and Phi had a lovely time of that at Worlds, had a lovely time of it in the earlier seasons, and now with Black Cat out the way, it's a Daredevil time.
Lim T'Challa is going to be the first map. I can reveal that ahead of time. And I think both of these teams are not really in too bad form when it comes to domination. I think Virtus Pro out of the two, maybe the weaker, because Team Heretics have been on such a heater right now. Yeah, 15-4 so far across the year and 12-2 for VP, so they haven't had too many bad moments. Undefeated on this map are both teams. Virtus Pro winning 2 against Pulsar and Peps, but Team Heretics winning 4 against Fire, Crownfall, Alter Esports, and Peps. So one team has to lose here. One team is going to find themselves a step closer to the mid-season finals and qualifying. Let's see if that Berber Patapim could be a bit of a giant killer again against the Bears of Virtus Pro. Take it away, guys. This should be fun.
It should be. And the draft is so important here, because Heretics were one of the first teams to really throw some wildcards at us in the preseason in particular. They've since stabilized a little bit as the draft has stabilized and the meta has stabilized, but there's always that question mark of VP are innovators, whereas Heretics are crazy.
Okay, well, not crazy enough to not
crazy.
ban Mantis first. Okay, phew. It will be Gambit Mirror from both of these teams. Rogue bans likely following suit from those saves. Yeah, both of these teams really liking to run similar compositions. A lot of dive, a lot of Daredevil. So we're likely going to be seeing mirror matches and mirror bans, unless, as you said, Line Pro throws a curveball out. In terms of this ban draft, nope, there we go.
Ooh,
both teams also taking out the Daredevil, so no one-sided information shenanigans for early setups to hit on rotation. as Virtus.pro now get the opportunity to save. Could go for Star-Lord, could go for Rocket, could go for a Vanguard like Venom or Captain America here, and they pick up the Star-Lord, which means that do Heretics try to depower what exactly that Peter Quill will be capable of. Note, they remove the Captain America, which I think is honestly a really good turn from Heretics, because Virtus.pro don't just play one dive Vanguard, they play both. They would run that Cap, they would run the Venom at the same time, so taking away the Captain America, taking away the Freedom Charge does mean that Virtus.pro lose a lot of that sustainability and disruption from the Cap hitting Heretics' backline.
Heretics will now secure the Lunar Snow. This does give them the possibility of going for the double counter dive backline if they want. Virtus.pro, they're just going to mirror on the other hand, though, taking out the Captain America, as they're fully aware the Heretics are also quite keen on a more dive-centric frontline if they get the opportunity to. So both teams do actually have the opportunity, if they want to go for that Star-Lord Gambit composition, as it was not banned out by Virtus.pro. In terms of bans, almost exactly identical. In fact, they are identical.
Full
it just
mirror.
comes down to the protects, which don't
saves,
matter because nothing was banned.
Exactly. The saves are different, but there's nothing one-sided. So as expected, I think from the compositions that you saw both teams running yesterday, a lot of heavy reliance on Gambit Star-Lord, both teams also gaining access to the Rocket. Do Heretics decide to lean on that, though? Because they could potentially have used the ban draft the way that Na'Vi did against Virtus.pro, making Virtus.pro think that it's a dive mirror, and then actually going for something counter-dive completely, as they do have the option of playing things like that Luna and the White Fox, or even going for the Loki with the Gambit as well. So we will see. Even though the ban draft was the same, it does look like we're having different compositions shaking up for both our teams.
No Star-Lord for the side of Heretics here. They were, in fact, looking for a bit at a Loki. They are going to stick with their triple strategist that they've become so keen on. While Naga was unleashed onto a duelist in yesterday's games, he is once again put back onto strategist jail here, as he will be on the Luna, one of the highest damage strategists, which has worked out as they pick up first blood, taking out Nevix here, as Heretics with double high damage strategists, the Luna and the Adam, means they're going to get a lot of poke here, whereas the Vanguard Deadpool and Beetle is going to be playing that Venom to try and put some pressure onto Virtus.pro's backline, where they've stuck with a bit more of standard here of the Gambit and the Rocket.
Heretics should win this first fight off of cooldowns alone. You've got Symbiotic Shenanigans and Soul Bond available for your Jeff and your Adam, so they get the first blood, but that is brought back via BRB from Dridro, who loses the life, but does allow VP to build up their own Banhammer. Does not get the opportunity to use it, though. And there we go. Heretics winning the first fight and the first cap off of the back of it, totally cutting out Virtus.pro at the knees, despite the BRB advantage being there for VP, who essentially take every fight 7 players in comparison to Heretics 6.
Buster cancels from Alex, showing that they can do a little bit of extra burst damage to help take down the terrain and set up an advantageous position for Heretics. They creep on forward. Tanuki trying to pressure Fincy, Dridro, anyone who wants to step up and get any scouting done. It is going to be Fincy. Quite a bit of damage. They need to be careful, of course. Environmentals are very possible on this map, as Fi is poking the other side, trying to keep the pressure on, but it's taking a little bit of damage, forced to back up as Beetle puts a bit of pressure on themselves. Alex has fallen, but Cocoon brings them back. Not so lucky for Naga.
Yeah, and that Cocoon usage being invested now eats into the value that Karmic Revival will be able to bring, right? If Alex goes down through the ult, you lose the opportunity to keep bringing players back. Ascent from Sparker invested to gain height to be able to dodge away from Ken's ulters. Heretics have been able to hold on to point off of the HGF, stabilizing their players. Enzo even coming back on the Strange with the portal so that Heretics can keep fighting the team fully intact with the Soul Bond into Saipei's ult.
They're trying to hold it with the Cosmic Yard Amplifier coming on out. Ruby Rage, and it's going to be Virtus.pro wiping the board of Heretics. Alex was taken down, meaning there's no revive, and the rest of the team is soon to follow. The portal is absolutely counteracted here. Heretics at 71%, Virtus.pro on the board, but they still have some offensive ultimates here to try and catch someone on the rotation. They've got the Heaven's Retribution, and they have the Galactic Legend, but defenses are where they are lacking, whereas Heretics, they have Revive with the Karmic Revival, and they're just about to have the Fate of both worlds here.
Yep, and that should be enough to be able to survive the damage from Fi, who actually goes low enough that he's forced to teleport out. Wants to keep the ultimate in play and put the pressure on the backline from Heretics so that you're not going to be there with your Luna to get the heal. That forces Karmic Revival, and we see Finzi trying to invest the Assassin's Spear just to take away Heretics players further from the reaches of the Karmic Revival distance so that those eliminations actually stick. Alex's ultimate comes through without a hitch though, so Heretics will be able to look to pressure out that point with Beetle's presence, finding that flip as Virtus.pro give up the fight and look to have one more regroup before we hit OT.
That was some good staggering as well by Heretics, meaning that Virtus.pro only just now all coming up together with 80% on the board for Heretics. Virtus.pro will get one fight and probably a portal re-engage afterwards, but with Naga having the fate of both worlds and the next closest behind that being Saipe on 63%, there is a real possibility that Heretics, if they can sustain through the main engage here, can just hold out and turn this round. They're holding on to it. Ken's already up to It's Jeff here. Vinci is desperately looking for something on the backline, but with Heaven's Retribution finding nothing, this is a dangerous position for Virtus.pro. They force the overtime. Fate of both worlds going to be coming out, but that team is basically completely split in two. Enzo returning to the point, needs a strategist to actually come back to the point so they can sustain it before Virtus.pro are able to flip this on their head. But down goes Nevix. Naga taken down in exchange, but It's Jeff still on the board for the bonus healing output for Heretics to hold as best they can. But the rest of the team is completely zoned out. Fi goes down. It's Jeff on the point, and now it's just ferrying in one by one. It's Jeff literally all the way back to prevent the portal, but it's not even needed, Moxie.
Oh, VP. They invested Gambit ult.
They did.
In that fight. They thought that it was winnable. They thought that they would be able to turn the tides with Raging Roll Flush and stall long enough for Nevix to get the portal for them to come back from spawn on 2 points. So that now costs them. You do not have Gambit ult to go fast, go first into Heretics when they're lacking a strategist ult to be able to survive it, since Fate of Both Worlds was burned in the OT play.
There's no defensive ultimates available for Heretics at all, whereas Dridro will soon have Cosmic Yarn amplifiers. If they can delay the first couple seconds, there's a chance they can make something happen. But Beetle has the better engage tool. Sparker needs someone to really set up for that Ruby Rage, or they need time to wait for the Yarn amplifier to just try and take people out before they have a chance to react.
Well,
whereas Beetle
you
can
also have
actually
your
commit.
links back.
If
you're Heretics, right? New rounds, so Soul Bond, Symbiotic Shenanigans, all of those return, which is essentially the value of 2 defensive ultimates. And Heretics have one-sided portal to just jump onto Virtus.pro. They've got Feast of the Abyss, they have Dance of the Butterflies. They go before Dridro gets the opportunity to build Cosmic Yarn Amplifier.
Sparker gets frozen, Dance of the Butterfly going to be coming on out. Heretics trying to give them no time to hesitate. Sparker is brought back, but Saipe and Finzi will fall, making it a 2-0. Heretics gain full control here. They use the portal as a little bit of cover to make sure they can keep everyone else zoned away. And that's going to be some percentage on the board right away for Heretics here. In the meantime, Alex is at 83% towards the revival, so that even if VP commit to this and get a blow-up, as long as Alex lives, they might just be able to turn it round.
Finzi also taken down, stacked up damage, spam from Alex, Feast of the Abyss at the same time. Virtus.pro losing the opportunity. Cosmic Yarn Amplifier with Galactic Legend. Heretics having to just take space and cover behind. But we do get the Karmic Revival bolt up in time from Alex to bring Enzo back into the fold. And Virtus.pro just having to use 2 ultimates to gain just the ability to walk out of the choke, but that's instantly denied as they're not able to get on top of that backline, and the Adam and the Luna deal so much damage.
Tanuki is down, Tanuki is back. Finally, someone goes down for good as Naga's taken off the ball, but it's exchange for Nevix. Rest of the team's trying to commit on in here. They still hold on to that Ruby Rage as they commit everything to the point as best as they can, but now the backline is under pressure as Heretics still hold the point. Tanuki does go down. It's starting to turn in the favor of VP slowly but steadily as Fi is winning the duels. Bad Hammer comes on out from Enzo though to try and put a stop to this nonsense. Sparker retreating, still holds on to that Ruby Rage to buy as much time as they can, and Virtus.pro were refusing to give up the point. Beetle falls. Fi has managed to trade 2 for 0 so far, just basically by themselves, able to duel on these outskirts on the point, and Virtus.pro will get the flip here.
Well, not just yet, actually, because the Heretics are still holding Symbiotic Shenanigans to stabilize Beetle into the Venom Shield, and you're about to get Fate of Both Worlds online. All you have to do from Heretics is hold the Feast of the Abyss, which allows that potential opportunity to hold this point yet more, and they're going to commit to it. Out comes the Luna. Virtus.pro going to have to invest invest something to get this flip, and it's just time. Point percentage is lost. 94% picked up for Heretics, but you're about to come through with Down to the Butterflies, Karmic Revival, and Virtus Pro do not get the opportunity to lose one fight. If they do, that's round done.
Naga deciding against going for the full 99 here and sacrificing their life, instead going for the fate of both worlds skedaddle style as they get out of there, rejoin their team to make sure that they can stay on the board and keep them topped up with Venom. Into the backline, into the abyss to try and take them down early. Ruby Rage takes out 2, and this is exactly what VP need to be doing. Do not let Heretics get momentum back. They have the tools. If you take them down quick enough, they can't use them. So keeping them split, keeping them zoned is a big play for VP.
That was 2 ults.
It was.
From Virtus Pro, as opposed to 1 to be able to stagger out these fights. So Heretics, seeing opportunity, keeping Enzo alive, build up Banhammer to make a play. Virtus Pro have to respond to the forward aggression with that Raging Roll flush, but Tanuki just takes advantage of the split from Virtus Pro. Does not use the solo call on the backline, turns instead on Sparker, who's now burned out the BRB. That means that you can use Karmic Revival to bring your Luna back into the mix, and Heretics suddenly have player advantage in the fight.
Luna goes down again for a second time, meaning that Alex and Luna were both off the board. Enzo is trying to take the duel, trying to take the momentum here, but with the Cosmic Guard Amplifier from the side, Virtus Pro have the flanks in their favor. Tanuki's just trying to keep the damage onto the board at 75%. Virtus Pro have almost caught up. Do Heretics risk a portal? They still have enough time for a re-engage if they're able to just not get staggered, not get caught, because right now, Ken's not in the best position. He's very isolated from the team, but will be able to get away.
Yeah, has to have the It's Jeff to be able to match up to the damage output of Fi with the Galactic Legend. No Cosmic Gun Amplifier, no Gambit ult to boost it. Beetle will be able to get the touch with the Venom swinging on through, so Heretics get the opportunity to take the fight.
Cosmic Gun Amplifier coming on out. Saipe takes down Beetle. Right off the bat, there's no revive here. Karmic Revival not on the board. Both the front lines are taken out immediately. It's Jeff. They have to burn it fast just to make sure that they can get healing onto the point. But Nevix comes in from the top rope and takes down the double. Virtus Pro making that look easy after the retake.
I wouldn't say easy. Heretics, a few hiccups, like using Karmic Revival to bring your Luna back, but then losing your Adam instantly after, so Alex is only able to take the 1 through, as you'd already used the self-revive before, and then Heretics trying to use like a lot of ults to brute force these fights. There was an opportunity. They actually get the pick-off onto Fi when he has Galactic Legend and Dridro has Cosmic Gun Amplifier before the Star-Lord ults. And you see the panic from VP. Like, Dridro invests Cosmic Gun Amplifier on point. VP actually swapped someone, hovered on Strange, thinking that a portal would be required before realizing, no, actually, Heretics are running out of steam. They're not finding more eliminations. They're not breaking Cosmic Gun Amplifier. We don't have to go for the Strange. Both of these teams are being pushed to the brink, and it is not clean Marvel rivals from both sides. There are mistakes for both of them to take advantage of.
Eyes on the Strange, looking to potentially take advantage of some mistakes right now. Looking for an aggressive portal positioning to try and take someone out early, and Enzo is a victim. Immediately, Fi is going to just see if there's anyone else to grab here. Fi is staying on Strange. Triple Vanguard coming in from Virtus Pro. Take advantage of that early pickup to make their way onto the board quickly.
Oh, that's actually so perfect from VP. They can't teleport directly onto Heretic stack because they would just respond with Soul Bond or Symbiotic Shenanigans, as Enzo actually comes back on Strange himself to teleport back in and allow Heretics to have the full team available. Sparkle of Dance of the Butterflies tried to dodge from Alex by using that jump pad, but the Adam just not having those players to be able to stack up and use Soul Bond to be able to survive the Psylocke's damage forces actually Heretics to having to burn the Luna ult just to hold VP off from capping.
Alex is able to revive though with the Cocoon to stay in the fight. Dridro not so lucky. Alex goes down a second time though with that Raging Royal flush, but the counterplays from Heretics are working out beautifully here. Feast from the Abyss, Enzo falls, and it's just a slog here. It's Naga though, former duelist who takes the double, finally going down to Nevix, who just has their number so far. It seems Nevix's job is just stop Naga. He's a problem. And it works out a little bit, but just not enough because Tanuki was left unattended.
Yeah, VP burning that Gambit ult as well. Now means that he's out of sync with Phi. Dritter with the Cosmic Ion Amplifier, maybe to have one-shot potential for Nevix's Feast of the Abyss, as Alex is about to bring that Karmic Revival and all of Heretics players right back online. If VP can't find the Adam, they've already been able to find 2. They do it before Karmic Revival is fully built. Spark are now scouting out where Alex would be playing below the point, not giving him the opportunity to invest that ultimate, which means that those eliminations stick, and Virtus Pro complete the flip.
And the stagger taking out Tanuki right at the end there, meaning it's a full regroup for Heretics. It's going to allow VP to catch up and likely get themselves a lead here, as they have a full positioning advantage. They don't have to worry about a portal for another minute or so, so they've got plenty of time to just poke away and build up their strategist ultimates. Let Dridro and Saipe just deal as much healing as they can, so Fincy and Nevix can take some damage to prepare, because Ken and Alex, they're already charged.
Oh, they found Tanuki. Phi goes first with Galactic Legend. Heretics trying to survive it with the healing from its Jeff, as well as that natural cover. Beetle actually body blocking a massive portion of the Starlord ult, but that leaves Ken behind. Potentially one clippable.
Evasive fish maneuvers to try and get out of danger, trying to stop themselves getting taken down. They will escape. Sparker falls. Alex comes back from the cocoon, so just in case they need a revive, because Enzo is taking a lot of damage. Tanuki finishes off the dance with the butterfly, which will be mirrored by Sparker a little bit later. Finds Ken, but here comes the revive. They need to get to Ken, though, in order to revive them, because Sparker is marking the body. Will make it there. Into the backline with that Raging Royal Flush means the damage output is good. Waiting for the end of the res. Beetle returns, but with the res over, so is Team Heretics' life, as they're taken off the board and VP keep control. And Heretics, they're starting to enter desperation mode.
Well, they're going for the White Fox instead of the Adam Warlock, but late pickoff here onto Tanuki means that Sparker gains a lot more freedom. It's just wrong. The wider aspects of this map, getting that pickoff onto Luna super early means that Fate of Both Worlds denied. Tanuki actually having to go for the Strange Swap to try and portal Heretics onto this point in time to be able to keep these players back in that fight. Beetle gets the touch. You should be able to bring your Luna and her ult back in with that Strange TP, but VP can play the long game.
Ken's taken down, the dive comes in, Beetle tries to zone for them, but it's just not enough. In the meantime, Sparker's building up towards a Dance of the Butterfly for themselves with the Cosmic Guard Amplifier to pile the pressure onto the backline. While Alex has some counter dive, they need to keep the healing output going. Fate of Both Worlds will expire just in time for Phi to unleash. The Bad Hammer does some damage, but it's not enough to take them down, as they're sending into the backline to try and take out the strategist Dance of the Butterfly to chase them down. But great evasion, Alex falls, but the rest of the backline of Heretics holds for now. Means they can keep some pressure on the board. Enzo takes down Saipe. Vince returns thanks to the Battle Rebirth Beacon onto the board, but with Enzo down, it's just Beetle who can touch the board, and Tanuki on that Doctor Strange, who's almost at an Eye of Agamotto, but they need to survive to do it. Getting hit from max range by 3 people. Beetle is getting pressured down so hard. There's the teleport away from Phi to make sure they don't get caught out of position here, and now it's all about positioning. They do get the flip. Heretics hold barely, as Virtus Pro just unable to burst through.
Yeah, but VP were able to force Ken into a position of using its jab. So if you're VP, now you have one win condition, and that's build up Saipe's ult and go with it. Tanuki has to hold Eye of Agamotto, can't use first. You're waiting for that Purify to be gone from the Gambit cast, and in the meantime, you have to get the jump on VP's backline.
Tanuki already built up with an Eye of Agamotto and pretty proficient on a melee character. Strange is not a melee character, but sometimes likes to play as one, and Tanuki showing exactly the damage output that Strange can have here. Already on the character, making the most of it, pressuring forward. Phi dropped incredibly low, forced her back away, and that White Fox starting to find themselves a little bit isolated if they're not careful, but is able to retreat back to Tanuki. Naga falls though, as does Ken, meaning it's just Alex healing up 3 Vanguards, and while you do get those ricochet healings, that's still going to be quite the challenge. In comes the Raging Royal Flush with the Kumiho to try and tank them through. Tanuki is low, Tanuki is down, as is Alex, and Virtus Pro go for the counter take, meaning it's all down to overtime. No portal available, so it's just going to be a rush to the point. Anyone who's still up throwing bodies at it, but no one's going to make it in time. That's going to be a Virtus Pro taking map number 1.
Heretics just let the off-angle lane fight slip through. Like, the Psylocke, the Venom both being able to break out, hit the backline, take Ken out early, then turn their attention to Luna. since your White Fox was playing up with your Strange, trying to get those pickoffs and delay VP from regrouping and walking forward, brute forcing the issue with the Gambit ult just became the sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. They didn't want to let VP go first aggressively, and then they lost their backline, which, surprise, allowed Virtus.pro to push forward aggressively with all of their ults now built up from that Gambit engagement.
Virtus.pro, though, put on quite the show, but Heretics did make them work for it. Can they turn it round in map number 2? We'll find out after the break.
청우의 시간. I outnumber you. Your powers are mine!
Assemble! Sorry, soldier.
How tilting must it be to have a guy run up to you and start beating you up with a rubber ducky dinghy? That's the Seaside Sentinel Captain America skin. We sort of highlighted him earlier on as well. And whilst we're getting into the summer scenes, I suppose, for Ignite, as we're reaching international qualification, Virtus Pro refused to wash away despite being the first round down, managed to swing things back into their favor to be able to beat Team Heretics on this random domination map to begin with. Techa, it felt the Heretics might have come out with a pretty unorthodox composition had the Gambit available chose not to play it instead of going triple strategist with the Adam. It seemed that that might have had to go too if it wasn't for Virtus Pro making the right adjustments and actually being able to counter it.
They were hovering the Mantis for a little, sorry, the Gambit for a little bit, but decided against it, like you said. And Moxie was talking about it during the break and during the previous series, that Sparker, the second they realized, hey, this Adam is actually getting a little bit of work done, just decided to be on Adam marking duty with the help of Fincy for the entire rest of that series.
I guess Moxie,
47 limbs?
it's a lot, isn't it?
22 finals!
He had one job, which was dealing with the Adam, but I think like with Heretics' like composition, they still remained on triple strategist with Alex moving over, who could have been the MVP, honestly, for Heretics if Heretics were able to win that 2-0. It was a late adjustment, but it's also like a statement, right? Of Heretics, like they had the Gambit, they go for a draft. It was the first like completely mirrored draft that we'd seen Virtus Pro play, and it would be the first time that they would have ever lost a mirrored game where the draft ever, full stop in Ignite, because it's never really happened.
There was a lot of theory crafting. Like, every time Gambit's been nerfed, teams always experiment to see, like, if you had to still instant ban him, if there was a way that you could let one-sided Gambit through to the enemy team and still be able to win. One of the ways that a lot of teams tried to work around one-sided Gambit was Adam. The whole idea was that you would let the enemy team use like their Gambit combo of something like Star-Lord. You'd go into that fight understanding you would lose all their players, you'd play to keep your Adam safe, you'd use Comic Revival, everyone would be brought back. And I feel like that's something that Heretics were attempting to do. My issue with it was that Comic Revival did not really bring the majority of the team back since the first round. Like round 2 and round 3, multiple times Comic Revival was used to bring like one sole player back because they got picked early by Virtus Pro being like very aggressive, taking their lane fights, winning out those 1v1 duels, or it was totally shut down because Alex used it when Cocoon was on cooldown because he'd been picked earlier by players like Sparko, who, like we said, they had one job, right? Go mark the Adam, make sure that Alex, each time he tries to use the Comic Revival, does not have the cooldown. If he gets taken down for the ultimate, no one else from Heretics is brought back. So I think for me, while it worked for a round, Virtus Pro like obviously had to take a little bit of time working out how to play into the tempo of the triple strat. Adam obviously expecting that Gambit matchup to come through. I wish that Heretics had moved away from the Adam sooner so that they got the opportunity to build up a strategist ultimate when they actually swapped.
Looking forward, though, is the map choice of Heretics. Their win rate on Convergence is 100%, and they managed to play it out 6-0. So it feels like you could also go over towards Convoy. It's going to be low in Manhattan. The first time that we've seen them at least play it, Virtus Pro were forced onto it a little bit beforehand and seemed to deal with it pretty nicely in a series up against Reason Gaming yesterday. It's also their 10-1. So these are two very good Convergence teams. If it does go to a 2-0 lead for Virtus Pro, they'd have to go to Convoy, where they're 5-6. They're not doing as well, but this is a map where Heretics want to try and take the lead with a curveball.
Thank you very much, Ryan. We're going to be heading on into map number 2's draft, and so far, everything's familiar. Mantis bans, Gambit protects, unless Virtus Pro are about to do something weird. But Virtus Pro are a safe, steady team. They'll throw something weird very rarely because they know they can just beat you straight up, and there is going to be that Gambit protect.
Yeah, the weirdest thing they did yesterday probably was just running Penny on defensive first point versus Reason, which I would assume they will do again since they're starting off on defense before moving to the default composition, which they will be playing around as, okay, we do get deviation in band draft this time. So Heretics remove Fi's Daredevil, VP remove Heretics access to the Rocket Raccoon. So no teleport for Star-Lord and no BRB, which was something that Virtus Pro were able to use, relying on to be able to stand up to the res situation that Heretics had available, with that BRB able to bring all of their players back, as opposed to the Adam only able to bring himself back once.
Yeah, you kind of got to... You brought it up a good point of the fact that Adam was only really able to bring back like 1 or 2 people at a time, and with the length of time it takes to charge up Karmic Revival, Rocket was potentially getting even more value with the Battle Rebirth Beacon. The difference is Rocket cannot revive themselves, which is where a lot of the extra value comes in, but Rocket's ultimate also still exists outside of those revivals. Daredevil going to be protected here. Heretics securing themselves a one-sided dive duelist for Tanuki here, putting some pressure onto Virtus Pro. But Virtus Pro, they have secured themselves the Lunar Snow. They have the option to go for that anti-dive strat if they want to with the White Fox. The question is, other teams have tried. Will Virtus Pro be the ones to make it work when, you know, Tanuki is unleashed?
Well, it's not just about what that Daredevil can do for setting up Heretics, it's also about what that Daredevil can do shutting down VP. VP not having access to Daredevil themselves, if you want to try to run Sparker on that Psylocke and be like more aggressive, more roam heavy in the rotations that he was making, like he was when we went to the latter stages of the domination round, he's going to have to get past the Daredevil bouncer check first, which will make it a lot harder to go put pressure on Heretics back line, because coming out of domination like that, I think is the lesson that Heretics learned the hard way. Some of their strategists, Satcha, had 13 casualties on their side. Granted, one of them was the Atom, so you're already factoring in like extra casualties off of the self-revive, but then your next strategist had 12. So you can see that Virtus Pro were able to totally shut out Heretics backline.
Virtus Pro, their strategist stayed up. That is just the power of Dridro and Saipe, able to keep themselves in the fight, disengage when needed to, so that they can keep that healing output going. Virtus Pro, there's some pretty standard bans from the side of Heretics against them here, and as such, they've managed to go for some really powerful stuff here. We've got the Penny on the board for the zoning, which is a very difficult point to push, which is why we're seeing Beetle starting on the Strange. They're just going to try and skip the point to not deal with that problem, but they've also got Fi on the Wolverine, something we haven't seen in a little bit, and Sparker setting him up on the Cyclops. So they've got everything they need to set up here, and Beetle, not just portaling his team here, swapping off so that he can rejoin the team on the Angela, and it's a full wraparound here. Not even just a half engaged wraparound, it's a full reverse setup.
I mean, you have to take your time with portaling when you have Daredevil, since passive does not go through portal, right? So you go behind the point, you fully scout out where VP are and what they're playing with. This does give Virtus Pro the opportunity to kite away from Heretics push though, and bunker up in these small rooms, which are almost impossible for Heretics to be able to invade safely into off of Finzi on the Penny Parker. There's very little that they can do, as opposed to just like being able to pull people from VP outside of that room, but they have nothing to really be able to set it up. So dive denied, portal fight denied as well.
Immediately we see the swaps over here. Enzo going to bring out the Magneto to just try and give them a shield so they can safely step up. Beetle is going to be sticking with that Venom, trying to get some pressure onto the backline so that someone can go in with Tanuki. Speaking of, Tanuki is still annoying people, still hovering around the backline, trying to pile on some pressure as Beetle dives in, swings away. Ken is also very deep in the backline, piling on a bit of pressure and will get punished for it. Fincy, the mines are set up in strategic locations, giving them a great angle so far. Like Sparker's just chased down, very nearly catches Beetle on the exit.
I mean, there's opportunity here for Heretics. They're taking more damage, so they will have first Gambit ult to try to brute force past Virtus Pro. So there should be ticks picked up off of the back of that uncontested ult. But VP, if they don't lose all of their team, will just be able to play for retake and second Gambit ult when Heretics lose an opportunity of using something like Invisible Boundary, as they're really rotating for hero, trying to work out what exactly to use. There's the Gambit ult engagement. Virtus Pro going for the full disengage, only losing Finzy. No BRB to bring him back, but that's still not a lot of players that Heretics were wanting to deny VP from recontesting.
It is a big one, though. It takes out the nest, meaning that while there's still some mines on the board, although they have now disappeared as Fincy swaps over to the Strange. Counter coming on in with their own Raging Roll Flush. And we see Heretics. They're happy to give away some of the positioning. Here comes the Ruby Rage, countered immediately by Sparker, and neither team finds a pickup here. But the difference is, Virtus Pro now have a defensive position set up again. Fincy takes out Naga. The rest of the team is grouped up, trapped in a choke point, allowing Virtus Pro to just creep forward piece by piece and try and isolate them, take them out. And that's going to be a very slow and unfortunate demise for this next push of Team Heretics. And they're running out of time, Mox.
Yeah, and you won't even force Dridro's Fate of Both Worlds potentially with Tanuki's ult, because Nevix can counterplay it with Sonic Seduction to totally shut down the Star-Lord. So Heretics might be coming into this fight with more ults, but it is so crucial that they keep Alex alive to be able to hit this Gambit ult to fully push VP off of this point and pick up that last checkpoint to stop the full hold.
Heretics making their way in. Beetle on the flank with Tanuki on that Star-Lord, with that Galactic Legend. They have a lot of the tools they need. Alex is almost built up to that Radiant Royal Flush. Vi takes Beetle out of the fight, removes him from the board. Symbiotic Resilience has to be burned early so that they don't get caught out of position. Beetle forced to use Feast of the Abyss for defense here. Last Stand takes them out beautifully, but Fincy, unattended on the front, was taken down. Here's the Radiant Royal Flush. Dridro has to match with the Fate of Both Worlds to try and tank on through to the point. Meteor M to take down the defensive here. If they can take out Dridro, that would be huge, but they tank through it, sustaining through the fight, allowing the Psionic Seduction from Nevix to try and take people out of that invisible boundary. But right now, the positioning of Heretics is allowing them to hold through the fight, but they just burned every resource, and they have only found a 1-for-1 trade with overtime ticking down. It's now a battle in the neutral. Naga charges up the Ruby Rage, looking for the blow-up to take them down, but finds Fi, drops them to the bottom. Fi is able to survive. Saipei turns it around, but with the front line taken down, Heretics may have finally broken the line here. They take down Fi. They need to push on through. The point is taken, and Virtus Pro are now just funneling in to get taken down to buy time so that they can regroup on the point here. And right now, there's a hefty stagger coming in from Heretics.
Oh, it gets close, Thatcher. It gets real close. The Saipei builds up Raging Royal Flush, but the Vanguards are down before they're able to take advantage of it. So Heretics get the eliminations, pick up the last tick required to walk into second, as Beetle now will be on that Hulk, taking high ground, setting up Tanuki into position of scouting where exactly VP are, looking to get the grab onto Nevix before he can go put the pressure on his back line. Venom and Emma totally denied from getting this pressure onto Alex, which allows Heretics to continue building up towards that Raging Roll Flush. It falls instead to Sparker to split their team, take all of that momentum with the Ruby Rage, and find the pick onto Ken, which totally stalls out Heretics' forward movement.
Nevix is taken down, though, punished on the dive, as is Fincy. Both the front lines removed from Virtus Pro, meaning Heretics, once their strategists are able to regroup and keep those Vanguards topped up, they are gaining distance from this. Sparker forced to give up all the space. Vi pulls back, looks for another regroup. They try to punish Tanuki, who moves on in. We're seeing a double Wolverine all the way across the sky, trying to find an opening here. Beetle sent down into banner form, but it's a full commitment from Heretics. But the question is, with Virtus Pro just playing further back, all this is really getting is space. Virtus Pro is just happy to wait that out.
Raging Royal Flush slightly mistimed to keep Beetle in Hulk form as Vi perfectly positioned with the last stand. Pins Enzo, so no mag bubble to be able to peel the players caught out by that Wolf ult. Beetle gains Hulk form, but Vi gains an inroad into the back line. Stopped totally by both the Hulk and the Invis, so not able to grab a player, but still able to push Heretics all the way back, and they do not have that Gambit ult to propel themselves forward. Ken, with that invisible boundary static, has to be used on point or deep into VP's lines to get the slow onto them so that Heretics can follow up with damage.
Nevix tanks it, able to disengage, remake their way to the team. Frenzied Arrival not going to be able to find a target, but with the Raging Royal Flush, they commit to try and make their way into the backline. With only 4 seconds to go, it's all about keeping the team zoned here. Meteor it's a huge split, but to take out Tanuki will be more than enough. Remove one from the board. Fire's going to get stumped out into the backline. Ruby Rage takes out Ken, and the backline is starting to look real sparse for the members of Heretics, but there's a big pickup. Naga gets the double on the other side. The backline's deleted. Moxie! Enzo's off the board! It's frontlines for frontlines with the strategist taken down, but Heretics are still moving. Fi is low. He can't really stay in this. Fi is able to grab a health pack and make their way back in, but there's still bodies. Nevix is delaying. Fi is trying to make their way in. The portal comes in for Tanuki to zone them off the board to try and keep this going. Monster Hulk to keep them out. 2 meters, 1 meter, and 0.2 goes over to Heretics.
Heretics really do like keeping this map close, huh? 2 points taken, both in OT, but that does not lend a whole lot of time to push the more problematic area of this map forward. Virtus Pro gaining access to environmental hazards and also closer respawns, but down the ultimates to be able to brute force the issue. Sparker now on the Elsa wanting to try and have this pick potential poking apart a Heretics team, as you have to understand that Heretics will be opening up with this Gambit ult. Virtus Pro have to be able to disengage. They do not have match. There's the opening from Alex. VP trying to pull away, but not able to escape the clutches of the Wolverine.
Tanuki making the most of this. Fincy was able to trade out so well, utilizing those shields to make sure they didn't get caught out of position, but just ran out of cooldowns for a while. Here comes the launch. Tanuki missile caught on the terrain. Will be forced to wait, reset, and try again in a bit, as that allows Virtus Pro to make their way back in. Sparker is fully charged up with the Apex Predator as they've moved on in. Naga, Ruby Rage for the blow-up. Not able to find anyone here. Tanuki's dropped low, but now Virtus Pro with the Raging Royal Flush and Fi with the Galactic Legend. The invisible boundary unable to be got into. It buys only so much time as the backline of Heretics is getting deleted here. It's all up to Enzo to just try and delay here, but with the Apex Predator to remove anyone who's still touching off the point during overtime, it's just about just waiting for that portal and to remove them here. If the portal's even off cooldown, which it shouldn't be, as it was used on point 2.
Yeah, Heretics had to reset strategist ult charges off of the swaps that they made. Like, Ken went for White Fox for the OT fight on second, so is only really coming out with Invisible Boundary for Heretics to be able to defend against. So Virtus Pro sacrificed some distance so that they're able to build up this massive shore of ultimates for when the overtime hits. They have Raging Royal Flush, which forces Invisible Boundary in response. Then you have Galactic Legend to respond to that. Then you have additional levels of response, if required, with Sparker having the Apex Predator to grab everyone from the insides of it and deposit them into Virtus Pro's clutches. As Heretics are stalled out, but for what could have been a full hold, they did get pretty far through Manhattan.
Yeah. They did an incredible job considering how difficult that push was. Able to find some really good last-minute engages here. And now, Heretics, it's their turn for a defense, and they don't even pick the Cyclops. They don't even pick the Wolverine. They don't even pick the Star-Lord. They've decided they were able to get some good distance, but with not much time. So they're going to try and waste as much of Virtus Pro's time as possible. The Penny, the Adam, the Loki, the Groot. It's all about burning through Virtus Pro's time back here.
I mean, Enzo potentially even counter-TPing VP's spawn.
Oh, potentially.
So that Virtus Pro don't just get to portal into an angle of trying to put pressure on that Penny generator, as no portals from both of these teams. Virtus Pro actually rolling out on the Torch from Fi. They did show this for a little bit of time yesterday in their match versus Reason, and it's because this is a duelist who does not require touching the ground. So you don't have to worry about things like those penny nests taking you out of this fight early. As Virtus.pro, it's a very slow approach to this point. Methodical as they try to work out where exactly that penny nest is to break it before the rest of the team can commit forward.
Slow and steady, making their way forward, and we're starting to see Heretics. They're holding the point for now, but with Fi on the flank, they do need to be careful. Penny's actually going to be the one to try and zone Fi away from this objective, but the nest is already down. This means that Virtus.pro have the opportunity to step up. They just can't get caught out. Second nest has been placed after the cooldown on the first one expires, and Naga looking to see if they can get a blow up onto the backline with some nice flanking nests here. But overall, there's no percentage yet for Virtus.pro. They're making space, but they're not getting pickups yet.
I mean, Saipe is about to build his ult. VP are running double strategist. Heretics cannibalizing the ult charge.
Oh my god.
What a dive from Fi. Everyone from Heretics backline absolutely charcoal. As VP with that Gambit first ult, Heretics have no response to it. They'll try to go for a strange TP, but I don't think it will be in time to contest the point. So now all you do is let this fight continue.
Jonathan Storm, welcome home to New York, able to get a huge amount of value out of that early setup here, and they're almost fully charged towards ultimate as well. This is a great map for some verticality, as you do have those high grab points that as a flyer you can keep some pressure onto and prevent Heretics from getting set up. Heretics are sticking in the triple Vanguard, triple strategist setup. Rage of Royal Flush stolen by Ken for the commitment from Heretics as they try and make their way into the backline, but the penny is annihilated, trying to make their way with the spider time, and immediately Heretics, all that space they just gained is lost. Straggling Prison comes on in for the background via Magamoto for the second pickup, and a great Carbon Crush for the turnaround as Finzi may have just saved their backline. A Supernova comes on in, met with the invisible boundary, and now it's all about delaying, all about burning through the time. Heretics are throwing the entire kitchen sink at this, and they have slowed Virtus.pro, but they haven't stopped them yet, as Virtus.pro still hold the point. Finally, though, with Finzi finished off thanks to the walls from the Groot here, Heretics get a slight reprieve.
Yeah, Heretics just have so many defenses now that they've been able to build up those ultimates, right? You had Soul Bond, you had Invisible Boundary, Loki Regeneration Domain as well. But Heretics were divested of 2 of those. You're only now holding on to Karmic Revival, which means that Tanuki has to perfectly survive the forward push from VP once Saife has that Gambit ult good to go. That, or you delay Virtus.pro from being able to commit into this fight off of a pick early on from Poke from Cyclops, but you're just not getting the opportunity. You're having to push Nevix away, and Spark wins the 1v1, forcing the Karmic Revival early. Saife's got the Gambit ult to punish the position of it, and Fi's just sent in deep to Heretics' line.
The reses are good, though. Brings back 3 members, keeping the fight going for Heretics, meaning that they are still able to contest this for at least a little bit, but the pressure from Virtus.pro is piling up. Enzo about to have that Eye of Agamotto and Straggling Prison available for Beetle as they are able to punish Virtus.pro. Eye of Agamotto comes on out, basically just on the backliners, completely taking out the heals of Virtus.pro as they are forced to reset again. And Heretics, this is exactly what they want to be doing, and now that Tanuki's finally used res, he might be able to swap off if he goes down in the future, but Heretics are making Virtus.pro burn time for every meter. It's the only way they're getting away with this so far, and it's working.
I mean, they're taking so many fights, and like you said, they're burning so much time, which is crucial off of how quickly they lost that first point. Ken will have copy onto potentially Invisible Boundary, or if you lose players early, Adam to be able to overcome that BRB and closer respawns from Virtus.pro to continue throwing players into these fights. He gets the steal onto the Gambit, though, so Virtus.pro now being much more on the defensive, not in a position to run away properly, lose Finzi on the kite, and find themselves stuck in spawn yet again, which has allowed Alex to build up to Invisible Boundary. That might not be enough, though, to stand up to the sheer firepower that VP will have within this next fight. Cosmic Yawn Amplifier to open, Emma ult to create space for Walk, and then if the fight goes long, Saipe's unmatched Gambit ult. Ruby Rage to open from Sparker with the Cosmic Yawn Amplifier, finds the picks onto Heretics, and there's no Loki, no Adam ult to bring the players back.
picks up the Heretics. Where? I don't see them. As Virtus Pro just wipe them off the board. And yet, Tanuki comes back again to buy more time. They
has to
just
be a
keep
swap.
throwing bodies at the point.
Okay.
Yeah, Tanuki does swap off. He was at 80% of an ult charge, and it's just not worth it. You're not going to get more value out of the Adam here. You maybe get one more revive, but you've got to contest the objective. You've got to make sure that you have someone to deal with Nevix, someone to potentially catch Sparker. So we're back on the Wolverine and Beetle bringing out the Hulk once again. Boundary's on the board, but Silent Seduction to try and prevent them from getting onto the board. Boundary does come out, though. This may allow Heretics to sustain through this fight just long enough that they might be able to get a turnaround.
No eliminations though, which means Nevix 5, Feast of the Abyss, and Last Stand. Pick potential and Heretics, no response to it. No Loki, no regeneration domain. Fi's getting ready to brawl on the objective. Nevix applies the anti-heal onto both Enzo and Tanuki, and there's the Last Stand setup that he was looking for.
Tanuki goes down, Beetle goes down with a delay of the Hulk transformation, and Virtus Pro making a very calm walk here, but it's still going to be a commitment. Heretics, they're just trying to take out the time. They're going to force overtime at minimum here from Virtus Pro, which gives them the best situation to maybe turn it around. And actually, that's 2, that's 3. Virtus Pro forced to retreat as Heretics get the positioning back. Portal from Vi is 4,
No
but they
one can
can't
touch.
touch it. Team Heretics, they eat the time and then secure it with a beautiful engage from Emma for dessert.
Oh, Loki, Adam, Invis. Triple Strategist stall out shenanigans from Heretics, win out Lower Manhattan. Virtus Pro's momentum slowed to an absolute standstill as Heretics pull a map to equalize 1-1. And we have the potential 5-map series that a lot of people are hoping for.
We'll find out if that continues that way, if Heretics can keep the momentum going, or if this will be a back and forth with Virtus Pro taking the next map after this break.
Team Heretics' convergence win rate is 8-0 now across the year, as a really solid win came in from Lower Manhattan. Scrappy in places, but Virtus Pro now have the choice of a convoy map, an area where also Team Heretics, going back even to Berber Patapim, have been convoy connoisseurs and triple strategist merchants all the way through. Welcome back to this best of 5 series. One of these teams is going to be qualifying for mid-season finals, and it's currently tied up, so it's not going to be the 3-0 that we just saw like Navi and Rad earlier. Tetra, this felt like very much more back and forth, just in odd areas. I think Virtus Pro are going to be very frustrated, because that could have been a full hold at the start of that defense, and it ended up going on to point 2.
Yeah, Heretics seem to, as Moxie said during the cast, desperate to just use every second of every single game. It's almost like they're being paid by the minute because they're just working everything out of Virtus Pro, forcing them to just put in maximum effort each time. And in particular for that was Ken, shown here on Gambit, but what we wanted to bring up, Moxie and I, was the fact that the Loki stole 2 Gambit ults on defense just by flanking and then using it through the wall to set up for Heretics' re-engage.
Really was just multiple players I think you could highlight too. Like Enzo impressed me because there was a good Meteor M right at the end of their attacking second checkpoint that he managed to get through. And like I said, Virtus Pro managed to push it to overtime a couple of times and not being able to actually hold it out in the end. Weird too with like stuff like the rocket being one-sided for Virtus Pro on VP's attack and not using it, and then using it on the defense. And Heretics making a one-sided Daredevil sort of work against them. They didn't actually pick the Daredevil themselves. Lots of Cyclops Wolverine team-ups to be going over Moxie, but it was interesting to see the creative ideas that both these teams are trying to run compositionally.
Yeah, I think you can sort of see how uncomfortable and sort of scrappy that VP have to become once they lose the resources of like the Daredevil and also the Captain America, though. I feel like Heretics have a very good band draft of just like forcing VP out of their comfort zone, because like VP, when they've won titles, they've done it off of double dive Vanguards with the Daredevil. They looked uncomfortable playing the Devil Dino meta and went back to the double dive Vanguard meta, and it worked out for them in both preseason and group stages when we saw them like have their true strength of matches then. So I think continuing to target out the Cap and the Daredevil is a very smart option, since you don't gain the opportunity of saving them. If you're VP, you would have to make the choice of Gambit save, continuing with that, or letting something like that Daredevil be the first save. But I think you have to keep the Gambit in play. So until we see those two make it through the draft, this series will continue to be as close as it was on Manhattan.
Yeah, Virtus Pro having nightmares, I think, about this Team Heretics squad under the Berber Patapim name, certainly when mid-season finals is brought up. This is the squad, Tetra, that not only knocked Virtus Pro down to the losers bracket for stage 1, but they also eliminated Virtus Pro from stage 1, which meant the Berber Patapim, now the Team Heretics roster, 5 out of 6 at the very least, went to the mid-season finals. Virtus Pro had to stay at home.
Yeah, I think we know we're going to Convoy. I'm wondering if Virtus Pro were like less likely to pick Midtown, because that's the map that happened. That's the map. Well, we don't even get to see it. We're going to
There's no way they
Yeah,
pick
you don't
worry.
pick Midtown. If you're a dive team, you do not pick Midtown.
No, for sure.
That's of all of the convoy maps in rotation, that's the one that it's hardest to run the dive on, and that's the one that also plays into the strengths of things like the Groot and the Penny, which was something that Heretics were able to use for stalling.
Whilst you go to draft, Heretics are 6-1 on this map. It's their best map by far, and Virtus Pro chose it. Let's see how this goes.
That is rough, but to be fair, every map Heretics are on has a positive, very high win rate, and just via benefit of the fact we've been seeing Museum a lot, there is going to be a lot of good scores for Heretics here. So we'll see if Virtus Pro just have the faith that they have the outplay potential here. For now, though, we're in the draft, and it's looking pretty standard so far. But now, will Heretics, with their opportunity to try and replicate the success, yes, they are going to continue the same strategy here, removing Daredevil from the board.
And likely following up with a cap ban, as well as they go for one-sided Daredevil save. VP not getting the opportunity of removing that Daredevil. So Heretics have flanking potential, diving potential, and one-sided information. As Virtus Pro think that the Wolverine was an issue, and it absolutely was. Tanuki was getting so much work done. Do they go for the save on the cap here before Heretics can target it out? I fear though if they go for the save on the cap, Heretics would just respond with a ban on Venom so that they can still remove one of the two dive vanguards for VP to be able to play, as they will save the Lunar Snow instead to still be able to have that Lunar and Gambit backline access, which means if Heretics want to again replicate that ban draft, which found so much success on Manhattan, they can take out the cap, and they absolutely will.
Very familiar draft, with the exception of Logan appearing for Virtus Pro's bans, taking that away from Heretics because Tanuki is a monster. He is a Tanuki, not a Wolverine, but he certainly cosplays well. Heretics, they stick with their strengths. They know what works, and they just try to replicate it. We see in a Contemplation another map where we could see the return of the Penny that we saw from Heretics and Virtus Pro for a little bit of delayed tactics here. This is not a map where it's as easy to portal around here.
They still do the clap!
Yay!
They
We love
still
that.
do the clap. For those of you who are watching Marvel Rivals esports for the first time, this was a tradition that was started in Berber Patapim, who were, as Ryan pointed out, 5 out of 6 of Heretics' players were on Berber Patapim before they became Liquid or Citadel and then moved into Heretics now. There was a tradition that they did at the start of all of their maps to make sure that they were all on the same page for coordinating dive, where they would count to 3 and clap all at the same time. And it is lovely to get to see them still doing this, not on LAN, but here on our player cams.
We love to see it. And looking at the defense here, as they're all on the same page for delays, it's triple Vanguard, triple Strategist, but without the Penny. They're going for Magneto, Emma, and Groot. Instead of just letting Virtus Pro push around with the Human Torch, they pick some characters who might be able to put some beats to it, might be able to put some pressure onto that flying character.
Will also eat the Torch's ult, right? Meteor M absorbs the tornadoes from Torch's ultimate, so Fire losing the opportunity of playing from the air, also having steal of the poke pressure from the mag with that threat of the right click, so having to be very wary playing around this cover, understanding he will not be gaining a lot of healing since VP not running the Invisible Woman to shield stagger and Fi to be more aggressive in his position, which means that we get a slower burn approach. They've been able to find Ken though, getting him low enough to force out the regeneration domain before he can exchange back to the rest of his team.
Now tries to go for a dual hit scan character on the standard quantum magics here to get a little bit of pressure onto Fi if they can land those shots. The Cosmic Cluster is a projectile though, but for now it's just going to be Nevix taken down here, utilizing the group wall of Beetle, but Battle Rebirth Beacon from the one-sided rocket will keep Virtus Pro's pressure onto the point, at least for now. Cyber's actually going to be on the flank, Pulsing Dar going to fly away here, and with the Cosmic Yard Amplifier, immediately 2 members go down. There is nowhere near a revive available for Naga, meaning Virtus Pro take advantage of their quicker ult charge to gain positioning.
Well, Beetle will go for the Strange, so Heretics still think that they can take this fight. Ken's so close that Loki ult in comparison to Saipe. If you can get the copy onto the Gambit, then you can purify the hit of Kraken impact from Sparker, as Virtus Pro going to be getting a lot of damage done. Good bionic hook, but Bulwark's there to keep Tanuki up. Heretics looking for Ken to get this opportunity. What will the copy be? Finzi using Stone Seduction, trying to get the pressure onto the Loki so he doesn't get freedom of choice to get the pick onto the Gambit, and no, he can only copy the Adam, which means you get a second cast of Soul Bond to walk.
The Karmic Revival did come out, but everyone on Heretics is tanking through this barely. Hellfire's low, Sonic Seduction, Invisible Boundary, allowing it to keep this delay going, and this is familiar to last match, Moxie, as right at the edge of the point, Team Heretics come alive.
Yeah, Meteor M about to come online for Tanuki as well. Karmic Revival available for Heretics if they lose players. They're using the Mago early to just try and take away the pressure from Virtus Pro, walking with that one-sided Gambit, giving the space to build up that Karmic Revival and get these players back into the throws. Beetle using that Eye of Agamotto, but now that Meteor M's done, Supernova blankets out the objective, and Heretics losing that revive window, lose their players now for real.
Media M before Supernova, Revive before too many people went down. Virtus Pro find the opportunities, utilizing as many of their tools as possible after the defensive tools of Heretics are gone, and they claim that first point at Heretics. It's an immediate swap. They're not going to get the big spawn hold anymore. It's now all about taking these fights. So Cyclops makes its way to the board, and Tanuki gets that one-sided Daredevil.
Wait, Finzi on the penny? On
Offensive
attack?
penny.
Defensive
We
penny, I mean,
saw
it will
it
actually
creep in
work
a
hot
bit.
CC against things like Enzo on the Venom, as well as
Yeah.
making it really problematic for Heretics to be able to stall this objective, right? It's not just the Daredevil that you have to worry about, it's the stall potential of the Cap and that Venom, allowing Heretics to be able to take more fights than Virtus Pro would have ultimates to be able to see through.
This did appear yesterday, at least a little bit, so seeing the return here, Finzy's just trying to make sure that their backline is protected. If the Daredevil wants to dive, it's gonna meet mines. That's the vibe here, just prevent the dive coming on in here. Beetle
Especially with
forced to disengage.
Sparker hooking people into it as well, right?
Yeah, it's like the Devil Dinosaur combo, but without having to play Devil Dinosaur, because he's a bit bad at the moment. So they're going to keep some pressure onto the backline. Here comes the Raging Royal Flush from the side of Team Heretics, trying to take advantage and try and take any positioning they can. They will get Dridro. Sparker taken down, and only one ultimate used here for Heretics to claim the position here and force Virtus Pro back into spawn.
Yeah, and Virtus Pro now lose access to those rooms where they could fortify with the penny, bunker down, and make it so hard for Heretics to be able to push them out of. So Alex with Fate of Both Worlds will be able to survive the engagement of Feast of the Abyss if VP even get the opportunity to use it. As Finzy's taken out early, Virtus Pro no space to be able to contest the sheer amount of incoming damage from Heretics poke. Sparker actually swapping off of the Bucky onto the Psylocke just to try to get through past that information check from Heretics. But with Tanuki on the Daredevil, you always know where he is. Feast of the Abyss early from Enzo. Cypher using that Raging Roll Flush in response, but this should not find eliminations as Alex has the Fate of Both Worlds to allow Heretics to hold their own.
Here comes the counter though as Tanuki goes into the backline, but gets webbed up immediately. It's a 3-second stun, which is allowing a little bit of sustain coming out from Virtus Pro as they mirror with their own Fate of Both Worlds. Vi now with their Galactic Legend tries to take the duel into the Daredevil. The deflect comes on in, but there's just too much damage. Vi able to take them down, who's now chasing any retreating members of Heretics that they can. With 2 members down, the remaining members of Heretics are forced to retreat through the doorway, which allows the penny to set up, and suddenly the re-engage has turned into a incredibly difficult position.
Yeah, but one more fight which allows Heretics to come out with that Raging Roll Flush from Ken. Beetle taps onto the objective too to be able to stall it, but Heretics are split down to the butterflies, potentially finding picks, but it's Alex who walks with 2 of the eliminations off of the setup from that Ruby Rage. Nevix does get the pick off onto Alex in the backline though, so Gambit heals only for Heretics and trying to keep their positions up with their Vanguards, able to just tank all of that damage, stopping Virtus Pro from getting the cap. Crucially, 30 seconds before OT, Finzy has to go to Angela off of the Penny Parker so that VP get the opportunity of scouting out Heretics' close hold.
They find Tanuki, but not able to get the finishing blow. Tanuki able to dash on through. Like you said, they may have to just go for a dash touch to make sure that they can contest it. With 10 seconds to go, Finzy on the way, making sure that they're keeping some pressure onto the diving characters of Heretics so that they can claim a position as best as they can. It's going to be Nevix to touch the point, to put some pressure onto the board here as Tanuki is taken down by Fi. Pressure in. Beetle gets the counter onto Finzy, though, removing that main frontliner as overtime is going to start to trickle down if Nevix leaves that point at any time. Feast of the Abyss coming on out though as Enzo is keeping pressure into the backline, retreats into their own team so they can get some healing output, trying to put some of that pressure onto Nevix to take them off the board. Neither team has the Raging Royal Flush, but both are close. Nevix with Feast of the Abyss is creeping forward onto the board. Fate of Both Worlds from Dridro allowing the counter push, and with that Raging Royal Flush on the board, Alex is making their way back in close to an ultimate of their own. It's all about delays, but no one's touching at least yet. Beetle gets it with 1.5 meters to go, but immediately the Raging Roll Flush comes out, take them out quickly before the reinforcements can come onto the board. Enzo falls, Beetle touches, 0.5 meter to go. Fate of Both Worlds for a little bit of extra delay to get the counter. They take down Dridro. They've got to keep touching though. 1/3 of a meter to go as Tanuki comes out in from the back line with the darts and the butterflies onto the point to take them out. Naga falls. Sparker is keeping that Gambit off the board, but Beetle is still delaying. He's still holding. Portal comes on in from Enzo. go to keep the delay going for every possible second with overtime ticking down. Virtus Pro cannot maintain.
Same story as Lower Manhattan. Stall until you can win the fight from Heretics side. One insane last OT fight, like so much happened. Heretics playing super smart, understanding that Virtus Pro will hit that Luna ult before Ken is able to build the Raging Roll flush. So he plays super safe all the way back, which means that VP aren't able to invade into Heretics' spawn side and get the focus onto the Gambit, which allows him to have the team contest with Raging Roll flush. Then you build up into Fate of Both Worlds from Alex. Once Virtus Pro sustain is done, you slightly, literally half a second, you turn. It's such a risk going off of healing to the damage boost so that you can tip through the heals to get the hit onto Dredro, and then even if you lose players in that moment, you still have Freedom Charge to fall back onto, as Heretics are able to weather the storm of Virtus Pro's approach. And this is a very winnable Museum of Contemplation.
It's doable, and as such, Virtus Pro, they take a little bit of a leaf out of Heretics' book here, and they're going for a bit more of a bunker-style composition, but they're not fully committing. They're still sticking with this 2-2-2 style, with Emma being great for zoning, being great for these close holds, especially when combined with, once again, Fincy bringing out the penny. They've set up mines, they've set up a lovely path for those mines to make their way in, and if Nevis can get a carbon crush onto someone, might be able to force them into that explosive trap, as Fincy will find Naga on the long-range mine placement.
And no rocket to be able to instantly bring your duelist back, so that's a good 20 seconds or so shaved totally off of the time bank, as Ken was on Loki, actually decides to go onto the Invis, seeing both the Wolverine and the Cyclops in play, wants to be able to have that push and pull to counter the grabs. Does mean that you give up second cast of Raging Roll flush though, so Saipa will have match for Alex. You're relying on Tanuki winning out the 1v1 mirror.
Tanuki will be piling on the pressure, at least for the moment. Blaster Barrage needs to not get caught out, so we'll cancel it early just to make sure that they have the advantageous position, not going to get caught out, and they even take down the Biotic Spider Nest.
Yeah,
for
great
that
shields from
Slow and
Ken
steady so far.
as well. Like, Tanuki does not go down off of some really good Guardian Shield placements from Ken, which allows him to save the iframe. So they've been able to break corner, and crucially, they can start trying to put more pressure on Finzy's nest placement as well.
Coming on in with the Raging Roll flush. No Galactic Legend here, but might not be needed. They're just going to take down the nest and the penny. Could have just taken down the penny, which will delete the nest, but both go down in the end. And that is just a convincing fight win. First door open with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, so you couldn't quite complete the elimination because of Nevix's Sonic Seduction, so Finzy actually does a little bit of min-maxing. He body blocks with his own health bar on the Penny mech to keep the nest in play for slightly more time, but Heretics are still able to win out the fight overall. VP, though, they still have their own Gambit ult to make a play for this retake, so Heretics having to be very careful, having to be ready to respond with Invisible Boundary, as VP don't have good follow-up. Yes, they've got the Gambit ult, but they don't have something to be able to find eliminations through Invisible Boundary, and Heretics want to punish VP's aggression. They want to read, anticipate that Gambit ult, propelling the team forward, and they massively over-invest ultimates.
Yeah.
Both the Galactic Legend and Sonic Seduction in response alongside Invisible Boundary to Saipe's ult means that VP have house money when it comes to ult trades in this next fight.
Yeah, Heretics heard the Gambit ultimate and just hit all the buttons, and suddenly they get some momentum out of it, but all they got was one pickup. But now Fate of Both Worlds is available for Virtus Pro, Dance of the Butterfly is available, and they will soon have Heaven's Retribution to combo with it. That's a great position for Virtus Pro, as long as they don't stagger. Dance of the Butterfly can be dropped quite early into the backline, seeing if they can force out any other tools, and once again, the other two buttons are pressed from Team Heretics. Ruby Rage and the Feast from the Abyss, it is enough to take down Finzy, and also Fi and Virtus Pro. They also just burn all their buttons and find nothing for it.
This is so dangerous for Virtus Pro. Like, this is final fight territory. You're relying on Heaven's Retribution from Finzy, but Alex can free the whole team with the Purify from Raging Roll Flush. You've given up Dance of the Butterflies. Someone from VP has to find clutch eliminations on Heretics, and fast, or this round is done.
Seeing the move goes back in. Raging Royal Flush from Alex this time doesn't want to give Virtus Pro time to regroup. Down goes one front line. The second is absolutely mullered with the Ruby Rage to try and remove people from the board. Tanuki heals back up, though not going down without a fight. Sparker falls, Dridro falls, and now it's all about Nevix, who will get one. Holds the line at least for the moment as reinforcements come back in. Fincy with a quick re-engage here, thanks to the speed of the Angela onto the board. Tanuki has the Galactic Legend to try and push on up. Saipe is charged with that Raging Royal Flush with the Invisible Boundary about to fall. Here it comes. Galactic Legend try and take them down before the damage can be done, and it's working out. One falls, two falls. The front line is melting Moxie as Heretics are breaking it open, but it's all about Nevix delaying, trying to pull a Beetle, delaying with every second they can as Portal is going to attempt to come back in. I think it was interrupted. No Portal on the board, so it's all about rushing the point here. They send everything at the point, but Virtus Pro fall one by one, and Heretics, they'll make you a believer.
That's round. Like, straight up, that is round. Virtus Pro looking very uncomfortable when it comes to coordinating, regrouping, and not over-investing ultimates in some of those fights, as Heretics is looking in total control of that last fight especially. Invisible Boundary forcing a response of Raging Roll Flush, and then you find the pick through with that Galactic Legend totally taking VP down. Something cancelled Portal, be it Invisible Push from your Invis, or potentially even like a knockback from something like Cyclops. We will have to go see, but Heretics 2-1 up in this series, now on match point. I think a lot of people's predictions and channel points will be in peril, as we expected this to be a close series, but I don't know how many people had Heretics above VP.
You'll have to think about that as we head into a break. Don't go anywhere. Can Virtus Pro bring it back? We'll find out after these messages.
It's not looking great for Virtus Pro as their map choice of Museum of Contemplation mixed their 1-3 record on the map, 1-4, and it's one of the best for Team Heretics to be running, and they showed exactly how. Now, Team Heretics are one map away from securing themselves for the first time an international event, and Virtus Pro are hoping that those skeletons in that closet are not going to reappear on this one. Not quite Halloween yet. But Tetra, like, this felt very, like, vastly different. It felt like for Virtus Pro. Like, going for this map was interesting enough, but it felt that outside of just trying to deal with, like, the Human Torch beginning on their attack, everything else felt not great.
Yeah, like, it started off similar to the previous map, where we just saw delay, Heretics just throwing bodies at the point and being able to buy as much time as possible. But it evolved into the timings for objectives, the ability to just snipe people off at the perfect opportunity. Tanuki proving he's not just a melee one-trick, continuing to just throw value into every single fight. Heretics, they are looking strong, and you mentioned this is the first time that this organization could qualify for an international LAN, but a lot of these players qualified for mid-season last year by beating Virtus Pro, and that's going to be potentially a little bit tilting for VP.
Yeah, it's so much that they have to deal with, like, the mental side of it. And Moxie, at least they're coming in with some, like, ideas, at least on, like, some of these maps have been able to bring out some, like, pretty good strategies in the right places. But it's been, like, maybe good for a point or two. For the full map, the war of attrition has been won out from Heretics. They're able to basically stall out so often, the VP can't find the space that they need.
I mean, for me, like, this series could be done. If VP go into this next map and play the way that they did on their defensive Museum of Contemplation with very little coordination, and we saw, like, how uncomfortable they were when they were deprived of the Daredevil and the Cap before, but that was felt doubly so on Museum of Contemplation. So I think, like, if they're not able to totally reset and bounce back very quickly, there is a chance that we finish off this series 3-1 and Virtus Pro go through deja vu yet again. Not quite like not qualifying to mid-season, but if they do want to qualify to mid-season, having to go through that lower bracket run where we know teams like Rad will be waiting, and then if you're Virtus Pro, you have even more reason to avoid it because Rad were the team that pushed you out of pre-season early so that you only placed 6th, which was the lowest that you've placed so far. I think even if the series does go the distance and VP do manage to bounce back, cracks have been shown very early in this playoffs bracket for the teams that they meet next to be able to take advantage of, removing the Cap, removing the Daredevil, punishing the fact that in this meta you really do want to match that Gambit instant save, is meaning that while this should be, since it's dive orientated, a strong meta for Virtus Pro, they're not quite able to lock into it.
Krakoa is going to be the choice for Virtus Pro. It's also been picked a couple of times for Team Heretics when they've been in these best of fives. The domination was the area that Virtus Pro won on, but this feels maybe a step beyond. Heretics might have adjusted to what they needed to after their loss earlier on Benim T'Challa. See if the Bears have it in them to make this a full best of 5.
Virtus Pro choosing for the mental reset here. This is where they won on domination early. This is a map they're very comfortable on. They just need a reset on the momentum. Losing 2 in a row like that and 2 very difficult, long, attrition-y games. It looks like we have maybe chosen the wrong map. I believe we're still going to Krakoa, but the players might have chosen the wrong map. But either way, this has been a situation where Virtus Pro have been fighting tooth and nail and losing. A simple domination where it's all about brawling, it's all about team fighting, it's all about just timing your ultimates correctly. It could be just what they need for the mental reset.
Yeah, but it's also the scariest of the map types because it's the most snowbally. If you lose that first fight, it has the most amount of punishment. So I don't know how I feel about them taking us to domination. Like I said, this first fight I think will tell the tale of if VP have locked back in or if they're letting these last 2 maps get to them, because we saw them play uncoordinated. We saw them like invest ultimates and a lot of ultimates with very little value, which then bled into what they were able to use in the next fight and led to them snowballing just very quickly out of control, something which Heretics were able to take full advantage of. And I think for the Heretics, like, you continue using this ban draft the way that you have.
right now it's been working. Like you say, the second they locked in on that Daredevil and that Captain America bans, it's been working. They just continue to win. And right now, so far, if you and the audience have been seeing the whiteboard behind them here that shows up now and again, the big bold shaded in text, pick Daredevil equals win. And so far, them getting it one side seems to have been working out pretty well in their favor.
I don't think it's just pick Daredevil for Heretics and win. Like I said, it's pushing VP out of being able to use Daredevil themselves. Like, in the past, if this was still, like, the earlier patches, banning Daredevil would simply mean that Vi would swap onto Black Cat, but she has been nerfed. So you're not getting the opportunity to use that hero. You're putting Sparker on Cyclops as well, which means that sometimes you're running him on Cyclops, sometimes you're forcing Vi to have to swap onto the Star-Lord, so you can still gain the value off of being able to pair alongside that Gambit. Wolverine is in the mix, but as we're seeing from Heretics, they're being very composed. Like, the Vanguards that they're picking, things like the EMEA and the Groot, are a lot harder for the Wolverine to challenge now that Groot has things like the Large Wall, which makes him immovable, and the EMEA obviously has things like the Diamond Form as well, which he is entirely CC immune. As we do have a little bit of a lengthy pause. Something happening on the back end, and that could be good for Virtus Pro, right? It's giving you a lot of time to be able to readjust in and try to reset, but that could also be a drawback for them if some teams prefer playing off of that momentum and suddenly you offset that tempo totally. You're going into this next match cold. You don't want to go into a domination round cold. That means that you're not going to be playing optimally within the first fight.
It's a heavy risk to have that little bit of a delay. Sometimes you do need it. Sometimes you just want to keep going. You just want 2 in a row. Please let us keep going. Let us win. Whereas Virtus Pro, they now have to just cool down, reset. They are in, like we already mentioned, a match type that they're very comfortable with, but that they could be utilizing to give the mental reset as they've already won on it. We're going to bring back Ryan while we're waiting for this map to get set up. Ryan, do you have any statistics for Krakoa for the teams?
For Krakoa, we could have a look. I should have probably done this whilst I was just.
I know. I threw it at you without warning.
So, I think the majority of these for like the actual. This is the case with a lot of maps. I think with Virtus Pro is just like they haven't played as many maps as say like Team Heretics. Naturally, because Heretics has gone further in tournaments, so they've just more maps on average. Like certainly for domination. Like, they lost to Na'Vi on it in the group stages, 0-2, and then they beat Rad, and then they beat Lions without dropping a map. It's a little bit more flip-floppy for Heretics, where, like, they beat Reason, they lost to Na'Vi, they beat Shikigami, they lost to Na'Vi, flippy-floppy. They've lost to the best team in the world right now with Na'Vi twice. It's almost just the fact that, like, it's either win 2-0 or lost 2-0. And already from what we saw with Benim T'Challa, I don't think it's going to be a 2-0. It could be, though, because I just feel like Virtus Pro need to, like, essentially like stock up on that mental side, which is where you have to look for players like Finzi and Nevix, especially that front line, because they are the most experienced. You've got like an esports player of the year nomination in like Finzi, right? Like those players need to try to be the captain and build it up for players like even Sparker, who I think is going to be feeling a little bit more nervous on what this game loss could mean to them and how that could certainly bite them in the backside for these like elimination games tomorrow, because it is only a day turnaround, right?
Yeah, it's not a lot of time. Like I said, the vulnerability here that has been exposed from Heretics' ban draft is more problematic to Virtus Pro, which will now add on even more pressure, because if they do go down to the lower bracket, I guarantee you that the team that they run into will copy Heretics' ban draft.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, oh, okay, well, Heretics played nothing really out of the ordinary. It's just that they took away the Cap and the Daredevil, which we don't always see as a default ban in the draft. The only thing that they're doing different is taking away options from VP, which are showing to be very problematic for VP to have to deal with. And like you said, there is not a lot of time in terms of turnaround. VP, even if they win this, they will go back, they will look at VODs, they will scrim, they will block, and they will try to work out how exactly can we get out of this corner that we've boxed ourselves into by showing how tied we are to the Cap and the Daredevil.
It's really an uncomfortable pause, I'd say, for both of these teams, because Virtus Pro, like, whether it should be like pretty quick in, I think it was just the wrong selection in the tournament client. So shouldn't be too long of a wait. But like, I'm nervous for Virtus Pro, so Lord knows how they're feeling, especially because it's like, if they end up turning this around, they know what we're going to be asking, right? Even like going into tomorrow, they would have to play twice. They would have to play, I think, try to do the bracket in my head. They would have to play like the winner of like Rad or Fire Strays, which Shikigami or Fire Strays, sorry. So they're less likely going to watch Shikigami. We'll see later on with Lemon, Lake Day, and Fordable. This is the second best of 5 out of 4, and then you've got America's playing later. You've got to play that game and then play the other winner of the best of 5 a little bit later on in the day, right at the end of the day. And we've seen some teams look absolutely amazing in that first best of 5, despite going to maybe 5 maps, and just falling apart on that like second game later because it's exhausting and you just run out of steam completely.
Yeah, and there's a match in between as well, right? So you have to like warm up all over again. Like a lot of these teams, they basically 30 minutes, sometimes even an hour before you go into these tournament matches, you have a team that you agree to be your warm-up partner, and you have essentially a mini scrim with them so that you're coming in feeling hot, feeling ready to be able to just like jump in straight away, hit your shots, get the compositions that you're looking for. If you have one match in between, sometimes it can be a little bit harder to secure another of those warm-up matches, especially if you're having to keep an eye on what exactly is happening during that match in between, because maybe that's your opponent playing and you want to be able to keep an eye on the compositions that they're using, what they're struggling into, and what they're feeling strong with.
It's going to be tough to pick a warm-up team as well, due to the fact that Asia and OCE are done, China are done right now, so the only teams that are going to be wanting to scrim there are the ones going to the international tournament, so you don't want to potentially scrim against those because you might play them as time goes on. You don't want to scrim against the Americans for similar issues, especially as America's looking incredibly strong, with Liquid Citadel and Swamp Gaming looking insane right now.
Well,
and you
that's why
sure as heck don't want to scrim most of the EMEA
warm
teams
up against
because you're
teams
playing against them.
pushed out. Like usually what you do is you wait for teams like to be knocked out, and it actually becomes easier to secure warm-up scrims as tournaments progress because you have more options to choose from when those teams get pushed out. Like some teams, when you warm up, they like going up against teams that are on their level because it pushes them to be good. Other teams who are like very momentum based, want to have confidence headed into their matches, go for teams slightly like lower down, so potentially even you're like warming up with MRC teams so that you can just sort of run through them and concentrate on being able to feel happy coming into your first matches. Because if your warm-up goes, well, poorly, sometimes you're tilted, you're working out like, was it something that we did wrong? Is there something that we now have to fix? And overthinking can sometimes overcomplicate the issue and lead to you having a pretty rough showing in those domination rounds.
I'm really wondering how this is going to go at this point. I think it's a little bit more of just like a rehost. I think there's some deliberation from the tournament team. Like my speculation, this is pure speculation, is just that maybe Krakow was the initial option and they went, wait, no, let's go for something else. And now it's like, do we let them change or whatever? I don't know. Completely pulling that out my ass, to be honest, but it does mean that there is a bit more time for these teams to sort of work, and we get to see a little bit more as I think we are finally going into the map as things are being ironed out. Virtus Pro, I imagine, still going towards the Krakoa pick, and they are.
Thank you for joining us once again, Ryan. As we are back in, it is still Krakoa, and the teams are now into the draft. And so far, this looks familiar, but here's where it kept flipping for Heretics. But this time, Virtus Pro mirror them, taking out the Daredevil as well.
Do they save the cap? That would be the difference. Yeah.
Yay!
There we go. They saved the cap. That does mean that Heretics can now like choose to target out the Luna, which was previously what VP were using that second save slot for. So that Heretics can guarantee get one-sided Luna Snow if they so choose. As they'll take out the Star-Lord, so Virtus Pro keep the cap this time, but lose access to Peter Quill with that Galactic Legend, with the iframes, and with the ability to go win out the Gambit matchup if the ults do go head-to-head.
Cap will be mirrored, so the teams can both take this. This means double ult charge available for Team Heretics, with both the Gambit Rage Brawl Flush and the Captain America Freedom Charge, both giving a little bit of ult charge. And yeah, the bans are still mirrored, just in a different order this time. So we're still going to see the exact same potential here. But overall, there's still a lot of options outside of the Star-Lord that are going to work quite well with the Gambit if the teams choose to go that way. But the Captain America opens up the possibility, you mentioned it in the first series, of double dive. Venom and Cap potentially bullying for both sides.
Yeah, but Heretics, like, here could go for counter dive, which is what they did earlier on Burn and T'Challa. What I would really like to see from Heretics, actually, is roll out on counter dive, be it the White Fox Luna, or run a triple strategist with the Gambit, the Adam, and the Loki that you did previously to be able to absorb that dive, win out the first fight, glean as much point percentage as you can by having one-sided soul bond to overwhelmingly win out that first fight. And once you lose a fight, once you've used Karmic Revival, swap off the triple strategist composition and go for the heavier counter dive composition of the Luna and the White Fox.
We'll have to see if that's the way they run for now. Just starting off with the rocket for a little bit of pre-armor is something that we'll see from Heretics, not from Virtus Pro. They're choosing to just run out with standard health pulls, not with that little bit of extra bonus health. And Ken is going to be staying on that rocket, so it's a revive potential here. Not that Lunar Snow for that extra heal onto any diving characters like the Psylocke here. Tanuki will be on the Wolverine again, so we do have the potential of Air Wolverine to come in with the jump pack from Rocket.
Well, VP can go scout out where exactly the BRB will be with Sparker and Finzi's presence, though, to try to break it. Heretics could also just lose access to it if Ken is the one to fall first. So there's opportunity here for Virtus Pro, but getting the lockdown on this rocket is much easier said than done, as Heretics having more anchor presence by running that mag. Going to make a play for the point at the same time. Nevix trying to hold them off. So no easy first cap, a very much slow burn of a first fight. The Cyclops is called in to peel his back line.
Barker looking for the wrap around to get some pressure onto the board. A lot of damage coming in onto Enzo on that Magneto. Keeps a little bit of pressure up. Beetle is caught on the back line, forced to retreat to the rest of the team. Positioning is taken by Virtus Pro, but Heretics are the ones who push up, but it's gonna punish them as Naga. It doesn't matter how good your healing is if you're gone before anyone can even cast an ability. Saipe will fall on the mirror. Naga returns. Sparker goes down, and Heretics, despite losing the first person in that fight, get the flip and chase VP off the point.
Yeah, that's more valuable for Heretics, right? Yes, you sacrifice one person. Or rather, you sacrifice first cap, but you get the actual elimination, which sticks on VP. You lose someone else, but you've got BRB to bring them back. And now, while VP picks up 13%, you pick up and surpass that. So in this next fight, you're sitting at around about 25%. You have the Gambit ult to be able to match Saipe's. You can even use yours now to go first, as Nevix, because of this Wolverine, is forced to go onto Fing.
Barker on the Elsa, making that character look like she was never nerfed at all. It's been playing it a couple times throughout the thing to try and remove that mobility from someone like Tanuki. Ranger Roll Flush comes on out, but not before Rocket is deleted off the board. Fire getting chased down, as is Sparker, but neither one falls. No one on Virtus Pro falls, meaning the entire engage from Heretics is shut down, but they still have access to Cosmic Guard Amplifier if Ken can make it back to the fight. But at this point, this looks like a slow fight, forcing them back into the choke point, where hopefully they'll be able to regroup up and make their way in, but not with Wolverine. The Battle Reaper pick, never mind, will bring them back into the fight, but they're still incredibly staggered. That's just a convincing VP fight.
Yeah, I mean, Sparker has been such a difference maker in that last fight, able to take Ken out early so the eliminations actually stick once VP start pulling away with them. Heretics, though, coming into this next one, 4 ultimates available, but VP have 2 defensives, both the Freedom Charger and the Fate of Both Worlds, which can also be used defensively to buoy up the damage from Fi's Ruby Rage. Nevix has clobbering time. Heretics don't have a good response to it. Beetle starts things off with the Freedom Charge to run the team forward, but Finzi has the replication.
Ken staying far away from the danger, just keeping everyone topped up, and Alex is going to get stunned out. Last stand from Tanuki, looking for the turnaround, but Alex will be the first to fall. Nevix is doing so much work. Cosmic Guard Amplifier is going to come on out. Fire with the Ruby Rage to wipe it off the board here. Tanuki will fall, and Virtus Pro hold full control here. Apex Predator for the final chase down, and now it's just all about trying to stagger out Beetle, which they will potentially be able to do so with the incredible mobility that Elsa offers.
Yeah, VP will be able to build up Gambit ult ahead of time from Heretics too. So we are seeing swaps. Alex now actually moving on to the White Fox, having more counter, more CC to be able to react to VP trying to push into that backline. Thinks better of it actually, goes for the Luna instead. So you have Snowflake to be able to attach as Tanuki goes on to the Elsa to be able to match the damage output from Sparker. But what you have to have in this fight, Tetcher, is match on Saipe. And because you've swapped your Gambit player, you've reset that ult charge. Saipe has unmatched Gambit ult in OT.
Overtime already started to tick down. Sparker takes a chunk of damage, but tanks on through, and here it comes! Raging Royal Flush for the immediate dive, and Enzo wants none of the smoke. Trying to back away, just trusting Beetle to buy as much time as possible, but absolutely not! Saipe chases them down and sets up the kill, chasing them all the way off the point. And that is going to be the first point of Krakoa, the Grove, going over to Virtus Pro. They are 1 point away from evening up that map score.
Okay, it's not a surprise that Heretics lose that last fight. In fact, what is a larger surprise is that VP actually commits Saipe's ult. Because if you're Heretics, that's actually huge value. You're going into that one-sided Gambit ult. Everyone having to like swap. You don't have a full regroup. You're having to try and siphon your players' positions onto the point. You're accepting that you're losing that one. What you're trying to take from VP is ults for them to be able to open up aggressively instantly before you've had the opportunity of building your own ultimates in the first fight of second round. So by the fact that VP actually invested Saipe's ult to guarantee hold that point down, Heretics have thrown an absolute lifeline.
They have the opportunity now to try and retake this, but looking at the statistics, Sparker had 6 final hits. That is 2 more than the entirety of Heretics put together because of those blow-up team fights. That is going to be a portal coming out with a Captain America shield set up in case of interrupt from across the map somehow. But it looks like they've chosen the target. It's time to bully as they make their way through the portal to attempt the blow-up. But they're not going to find it. It's going to be a good disengage from Dargo, who will not get caught out.
Yeah, Luna just has so much speed. The turn instead is onto Enzo to force that shield very early on as VP splitting off Heretics' Vanguards, very much wanting to push any stall presence on that point so they can pick it up nice and early as they've scouted Heretics swapping to the triple strategist, going to have much more counter dive potential, and they don't want to go for the backline. The backline's equipped to deal with them. Instead, they'll go for the Vanguards when the backline's occupied.
Both their backline is taken out, though, with Dridder and Saipe taken out. Alex is picked off in the mirror, but that still means that Ken is on the board, keeping the team topped up. Down goes Phi. Nevix, the only person left touching this objective, as Tanuki finishes off reinforcements that were looking to try and assist. That's going to be Heretics taking the first fight, and what they didn't have to use is a single ultimate for it.
Yeah, and now you have so many ults to open up aggressively into this next one. VP, without that Daredevil, not going to have any information on where Heretics will be hitting them from. Beetle will make it hurt on main. Freedom Chargers running right at Virtus Pro so that there's no damage that VP's team can do to be able to build closer to things like that Gambit or the Ruby Rage from Phi. Both Phi and Spark are denied any opportunity of picking someone off early with Poke, so Heretics bleed out more point %.
Venom comes in with a Feast from the Abyss, looking to see if they can get a set up. An immediate assist from Ken to try and get a finishing blow, but it's going to be the Freedom Charge from Fincy to try and keep VP on this push going. The Kumiho comes on out, Glartrox comes on out, and Alex is removed from the Kumiho and absolutely deleted here. Tanuki's going to look for a turnaround to try and get a chance to modify through this. They take out 5, but the fate of both worlds will keep Virtus Pro sustaining through this. Naga will mirror here, meaning the last ultimate in this fight is going to be Saipe with the Rage and Roll Flush, and Ken with the It's Jeff, but Ken holds onto it for as long as possible, looking to potentially either remove some people from the board, but also get a big chunk of healing output onto the board, and it's just going to be a defensive ultimate. Ken wants to make sure they're in a safe position. The flip does go over to Virtus Pro, and Ken is finished off on the high ground. Heretics, they used everything there, and VP still came out ahead.
Oh, Heretics, though. Alex is swapping onto Adam. I mean, that fight went so long, VP had to use pretty much everything. You'll have the Ruby Rage from Phi built up in this next fight, but Heretics can withstand the damage off of the Soul Bond from Alex. They'll also have symbiotic shenanigans from Ken, so if we go into a neutral fight, this actually benefits Heretics' dive.
They now have the opportunity to build up those ultimates as best as they can. Right now, it's just piling on some pressure. They actually get a pickup in the neutral. Alex onto the Adam and immediately finds a pickup, but Beetle goes down in exchange, meaning that Phi is just one step closer to that Ruby Rage to keep the pressure onto the board. Right now, it's all about flanking and looking for openings.
Heretics trying to control those off angles. Great freeze onto Finzi. Totally locks his position down, but Tanuki unable to follow up with the elimination. It does keep the cap off of his backline, but you've since lost Enzo. So Heretics not having that engagement that they've been looking for, but that could be it. Ken gets the pickup onto Fi, so no Ruby Rage to hold Heretics off from getting aggressive. Beetle with the Freedom Charge. If Heretics really want to go for this flip fight, they have the means to be able to stand up to the Gambit ult from VP, and Saipei falls. He invests the Raging Roll Flush, but Virtus.pro aren't able to find value from it and have to double down. Dridro now using Fate of Both Worlds to stall out for VP, trying to keep this fight in play, but the moment that Luna ult falls silent, Tanuki's ready to set the dance music going.
The fish is down though, but Tanuki sets up to make it a 2 for 2. Alex goes down, but they can cocoon back into this fight. Ultimate-wise, they're at 97%. Naga is getting closer with that Fate of Both Worlds, but Tanuki is finding isolated members, picks off Saipei on the re-engage. Nevix goes down, Sparker goes down, and at 96%, it's just gonna be before 99. Heretics are gonna be able to flip this round. Fi's already on Strange, Portal's already open. They decide to go for the high ground to take the aggressive position, looking for the wraparound, trying to take out Alex. They really want that out of him. They know the cocoon's gone, and they get him.
They get him. No Soulbond, no Karmic Revival in this fight. Sparker given the green light to go for Dance of the Butterflies before Fate of Both Worlds can turn Heretics' fate. Gets the pickup onto the Luna. Job done. Cancels the ult early so he can regroup with his team and start putting the pressure onto Heretics' players, looking to regroup on the backline. But Alex is back. He brings the Luna back in, and so too returns the threat of Fate of Both Worlds to stabilize Heretics' position.
And here it comes. They've also got the It's Jeff that will come up at the end. Strategist Ultimate. Saipei is closest if they can take him out early enough. That removes a huge threat from Virtus.pro, but with Tanuki down, that's so much of the damage of Heretics off the board. Great freeze, but it's not enough. Naga goes down. It's Jeff looking to just get onto the board, get the healing output, but the fish is punched. Ken is taken down, and once again, it's up to Beetle. A familiar situation of Freedom Charge for the delay through the portal, allowing the Strategist to re-engage. Tanuki's almost up to a Dance of the Butterfly, but Saipei just needs to hold, just needs to survive. But if there's no one alive to get a Raging Roar Flush, did it really happen? As Virtus.pro are taken off the board, overtime goes down, and Heretics even us up. They are 1 point away from going to mid-season finals.
Yeah, but Virtus.pro hold the Gambit ult. They weigh up their options. Dance of Butterflies, it's like so hectic in the fight. VP's position so split apart as well. Saipei, likely if he panics and uses the Gambit ult instantly, will not connect to the full team, potentially even does not save them from Dance of the Butterflies. You lose the fight, you lose the Gambit ult, you can't use it in the first fight of this next round. So VP, very much like Heretics, gracefully accepting their defeat to be better set up for this first fight on second round.
The Atom has been abandoned. We're back to double strategist. We're going for the Zootopia backline, the Rocket Raccoon and the Jeff the Land Shark. But that's been used to make way for the Wolverine to make a return. Naga moves over to the Cyclops.
I don't think you keep the Rocket here.
The Hulk. I think that's just for armor
It's
to
just
set
for
up,
armor.
and there we go.
Yeah.
There's Gambit.
It's for armor and to also give the jump back to your Wolverine. There's no way that you run out on just Rocket Jeff, because it's so easy for Finzi and Sparker to detach from the main fight and go lock you down. You will keep the Rocket, but you will run the Gambit alongside it so that you can try to match Saipei, but you don't have match for this first fight. It's relying on Tanuki setting up the elimination before Saipei gets to use the ult from the fastball, and Heretics get first blood in the fight.
A massive pickup. Heretics not wanting to give an opportunity for ults. Here comes that Raging Roar Flush as Nevix moves over to the thing to make their way back onto the point. Priest from the Abyss. Beetle dropped into banner form. Ken taken out of the backline. And Heretics, they get the first pickup, but everything else is collapsing around them. Virtus.pro chase them down. Fi is barely standing, but barely standing isn't enough. Tanuki takes them down, but VP get the point.
Yeah, VP get the point, will be able to hold it. Dridro has Luna ult, Finzi Freedom Charge as well, so plenty of stall potential as now Heretics will return back to that Atom. No more Rocket, you've got Jeff and Luna to go alongside that Venom with the team up of Symbiotic Shenanigans. Tanuki off of the Wolverine onto the Psylocke, wanting to put more pressure on VP's back line. What we have here is trades. Both of these teams wanting to take the Strategist out early, but VP still have Poke available from Phi to find picks from distance.
Freedom Charge going to be coming on in. There's no ultimates to match it here for Heretics. Now it's just all about how many people go down. The answer is several. As we immediately lose Adam, Venom, and Psylocke. Alex comes back just to go down again. That was a rough revive surrounded by multiple members here. And Virtus Pro are in a dominant position here. They completely just finishing off people, and Heretics get another swap here, bringing out the White Fox.
I mean, you were going with the Atom, so you could try to cheese the ultimate economy. You would not be able to build a defensive Stratusol into Sparker's Dance of the Butterflies in time, so you try and stack with Soul Bond. But Finzi accompanies, and VP with that duet just totally take Heretics down with a tango of damage. Now we get the Foxtrot from Alex, but Virtus Pro, they don't actually have to go for the dive. They can avoid the White Fox entirely, put pressure on the Gambit instead, as we do see Heretics is trying to walk point, because this is final fight territory here, Tetcha.
Yeah.
Sparker having to win at the 1v1 versus Tanuki, who falls so low, he has to regroup back with the rest of his team, but that means that Psylocke gets the opportunity to jump with Cap.
Alex able to get away with the dash with the mobility. Dridron with the fate of both worlds to make sure that they can hold the point. Ruby Rage, if they can take out Naga, they do! That was the only strategist holding it up. Now it's just Ken. If he can stay up, they have it. It's Jeff, but who's there to receive it? If Jeff comes on out with the Dance of the Butterflies to the backline to try and take down someone. Spark against Enzo. Tanuki finds nothing, and we're back to Freedom Charge delay again as Beetle throws the team on his back and goes for a run to try and buy some time. Portal comes on out from Naga for the reinforce. All strategist ultimates have been utilized from VP, but Saipe builds up the raging Royal Flush, and what's there to resist it? Kumiho comes on out from Alex and is melted to bits, taken down. Spark against Tanuki, gets Enzo, gets Naga, gets Beetle. Enzo's the last one surviving, and he's nowhere near the point. VP are taking us to map 5.
The cap save changed it all. VP rewrite their destiny. We go the distance between these two teams with a spot and ticket to mid-season on the line. Who comes out on top? It's too close to call, Tetcha. It all comes down to this one last map.
It always goes the distance with these two teams in a best of 5. The most shocking thing about it is that Virtus Pro, in Ignite at the very least, have never beaten this team Heretics, Berber, Patspim, Citadel Gaming in a best of 5. And in the most key tournament that we keep highlighting for VP, where they were eliminated from mid-season last year, it was against that team twice in a best of 5, losing on this final map. It's nice that it's gone the distance as myself, Tetra, and Moxie are highlighting this action. Maybe there's a chance for Virtus Pro to recreate some history to sort of break the trend that has been formed for them. Or it could be Heretics just making this another cinematic approach, Moxie, because that is pretty much what you would want to expect.
I mean, the Virtus Pro, I feel like it'll be deja vu draft-wise. Like, a second save on Cap, that was it. Like, that was the secret for them being able to bounce back into the series. Like, so many fights in the past, we would be basically ending off of like, oh yeah, VP would be able to stabilize if they have Freedom Charge, or they would have an extra fight if they were able to get Finzi on Cap to stall out the objective, even if they lost the fight, to be able to guarantee that they can regroup for a next one. And that was exactly what VP were fully able to take advantage of. Heretics banned out the Daredevil, but VP mixed things up, saved the Cap, and saved the series.
You think there's a chance here, is like looking at this, Finzi, MVP, getting a Captain America. Tetra, do you think there's almost an argument that instead of going for that third ban on Daredevil, which would completely unlock Phi, you might want to go for the Captain America instead? Because it felt that this was the thing that was missing for VP. As soon as the Captain himself was on it, it was a whole different story.
That's a tough argument because they're both so valuable in different ways. Obviously, the Captain America, he's great for dive, he's great for protection because he has essentially a strategist ultimate that not only gives your team speed and bonus health throughout a fight, but also can keep the Cap delaying an objective and builds ultimate charge for your team. So the Cap has a huge amount of value as a sort of frontline spearhead for a lot of these fights while also protecting the backline. Compare that to the Daredevil, they are going to be the big explosion character who can really take out people in the backline, but also gathers information. And on some maps in particular, that can be so huge, especially on like some Convergence and Convoy maps where there's some great positions where you can scout out approaches for your opponents. Both of them give value. So I guess it's the question of, Heretics have been winning a lot with delays. Do they think they could still do that if they're being scouted by a Daredevil? If not, potentially keep with the Daredevil ban, which could allow Virtus Pro to keep with the Captain America. If you think you can deal with it even if they know where you are, then maybe it is time for the Captain America to be banned away again.
A lot of mitigation. Good moments for Beetle on Captain America as well, as he made it work on his side too, as it was another close one on Krakoa. Feels that for the final map, it has to either be Convergence or Convoy. It could be most likely leaning towards Convoy, but it could be any of the four that are left, to be honest.
Ooh,
Yes!
Midtown,
Yes!
we were right.
So Moxie, why Midtown? Why do you think that this was the choice? Other than just the fact that history keeps repeating itself times the flat circle, but why this map?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the worst maps for Convoy dive to come through, which means that if we do see like VP try to go for that dive, then there's a good chance that Heretics will be able to stop it as we head directly into our draft, and this should be speeding along. I think the big thing that we're all going to be looking at is, do Heretics prioritize keeping that Daredevil out of VP's hands, or do they go for the Cap? This would be the moment that they would go for it. And they go for the Daredevil again, which means that VP will likely get that save into the Cap here.
That would not surprise me here. Captain America returns one more time. VP, it works for them every time they've got that Cap. It's been making a big difference. They've been showing the power of it here. And it's an important map for them. Moxie, you mentioned just how good it is against anti-dive, but also this is just an aura pick for Heretics, because when VP did not go to mid-season finals last year, Map 5 versus Berber Patapim was on Midtown. They lost in the subway basement right before Fisk building, meaning that Heretics looking to try and not make history repeat itself, as this would just knock VP down to the lower bracket, but at least get an aura win.
Yeah, psychic damage, I guess.
Exactly.
There's a new team up that has been added to Marvel Rivals. We won't be seeing it in play. It's not associated with any specific hero, but Heretics very much looking to hit VP where it hurts, as they go for the save onto the Cyclops, which now forces VP to have to ban out the Wolverine in turn. I will say, this series going the distance, Heretics did look the stronger of these two teams on Convoy earlier when we had Museum of Contemplation situation. And they were also able to use Starlight strategies of Triple Strategist, Adam, Loki, Invis to totally burn VP's time bank when we were in the streets phase of Lower Manhattan. So I think there are issues that VP will run into, hero lineups that we know Heretics will be relying on, at least for the first third of this map, that Virtus.pro will have to navigate past very quickly unless they want to lose all of that time bank available.
This is it. Winner moves on to that upper bracket finals to play against Na'Vi for a spot in the grand finals, but more importantly, qualifies for mid-season finals. The loser goes down to that lower bracket and will have to fight for their spot in order to make it to that prestigious event. Heretics starting on attack, and they're starting pretty standard here. They've got the Rocket, they've got the Gambit, they've got themselves a Star-Lord and a Cyclops. They are ready, whereas VP sticking standard. 2-2-2. No heavy Vanguard defenses with Penny here.
Yeah, no changes to their composition, right? This will be the comp that they keep as default for the majority of this map, so no resetting ult economy, and also nothing that Heretics would be able to scout and then just be able to dismantle with a quick swap onto something like Ken's Invisible Woman for Tanuki to be able to dispatch out the Penny Nest. So you still have the stall potential. Finzi on the cap will be able to just meander onto that objective and hold it long enough for VP to give Fi and Sparker a lot of downtime to be able to try and pick up these early eliminations to force Heretics back.
Nuki is playing very aggressive, up and down, always checking every flank angle, and is putting a lot of pressure onto Finzi and onto Nevix. Nevix already forced to back up, and that means Finzi, they make their way to the point, up to the high ground, and will back away back to the rest of their team. But in the meantime, Beetle, who got that Captain America thanks to that ban onto Nuki's Wolverine, is also able to make their way in and put some pressure on as well. Both these teams fighting for every inch here. Fi will return after getting taken down here. Virtus.pro, they're losing distance, but very slowly.
And they're gaining ult charge very quickly in comparison to Alex as well. Saipe is hurtling towards that first Gambit ult.
Already charged up, and immediately the trigger will be pulled, which is just in time to save Nevix with a little bit of bonus healing and allowing them to re-engage. Sparker pulls the trigger, and once again, Elsa Bloodstone is their bread and butter here, able to take one down.
Oh,
the rocket
revive
goes down. The revive does come in. Naga, not in the safest position, but is ready for a potential flank.
Yeah, potentially unscouted by Virtus.pro as well.
He was walking.
So Cyclops could be very problematic, especially because Heretics will be able to forge forward with a Gambit ult of their own. Nope, he rejoins the rest of his team pushing from main, benefiting from that Gambit ult to push VP back. Jitro, though, safeguards the disengage. Fate of both walls called in. Enzo called in to try and one-shot it.
Meteor sent down onto Nevix to try and take out the front line here as everyone else was covered by the terrain. Down goes Dridro. Alex with that burst damage that Gambit offers so effectively. And it's going to be a nice slow fight after the ultimate expires, but it's more than enough for Team Heretics to take that fight, meaning a portal will be forced by VP.
Yeah, Dridro onto the Loki. No Luna ult for VP to stabilize. You're hoping to hold on long enough for Finzi to hit that Freedom Charge, but Heretics have sustain and then some. They've got Freedom Charge and Cosmic Gun Amplifier to boost up Tanuki's ult.
Black's Pleasure going to be coming out with the Cosmic Guard Amplifier, exactly as Moxie called. Looking to try and just burst on through, but the Freedom Charge is keeping everyone topped up beautifully here for VP. But that's the last of their defensive ultimates, meaning that Beetle, with their Freedom Charge, is going to be able to extend that fight a little bit longer. Here comes the Glartrox, though! You can't sustain through that, forcing them off the point. Not enough for a finishing blow, but it does give space. It gives an opportunity for VP to try and push in, but the backline is getting destroyed here. As Tanuki chases down the cap, it is going to be Virtus.pro holding the position, but bodies are being traded back and forth for these teams.
Saipe is still up in this fight as well. He's about to hit Gambit ult, which might allow the Vanguards to be able to stabilize. Fi wiped away, but VP still present, so no free pickup from Heretics just yet. And there we go, Gambit ult from Saipe's side invested. Heretics having to pull back, respect the one-sided strategist. They'll look to disengage and come back with their own, but they lose Ken, they lose Beetle. That is not a disengage, that's a fight loss. You get one last opportunity, 30 seconds left, and that was Heretics investing Portal. This could now become a full hold.
There is no portal anymore. Enzo's going to be moving over to Magneto just to keep people shielded on the point. It's not going to reach the objective fast, but they know they have enough time to at least touch Battle Rebirth Beacon placed on the high ground so that they can get someone back in the fight. But Dridro is going in for the Gambit number 2. Raging Royal Flush with the God of Mischief, trying to take people off the board as fast as possible. Point will be touched. We've already lost 5. Dridro's down. Naga with the Ruby Rage takes down 2, make it 3, and Virtus Pro are decimated, taken off the board. And Heretics, in what looks like an impossible push, are able to take it.
Yeah, Alex had the match for Dridro. No eliminations from VP, hounding forward, trying to take the fight against Heretics when they were split. Some players rotating from high ground, some going point to guarantee that OT starts burning through. They're just not able to find those eliminations coordinated as a team, and Heretics start pulling away with the fight. Beetle closing up to that freedom charge. Virtus Pro desperately wanting to win one fight to guarantee that they gain control of this high ground and set Sparker and Fire up to take away from Heretics the space.
Putting on the pressure piece with the Abyss from Nevix for a little bit of defense here. 5 will be taken out the other side, though, as is Dridro. And again, Team Heretics, with the Cosmic Yard Amplifier alone this time, are taking down Virtus Pro 1 by 1. Saipei is forced to retreat, built up to 64% on the ultimate, and will survive, most importantly, meaning they do keep the lead on the Raging Royal Flush ahead of Alex, who's only at 49%.
The difference, though, is that Heretics, they're ready to take these fights. Virtus Pro, they have to build up to ultimates. Sparker actually moves onto the silo, trying to catch onto that backline split away from main, but you've already lost Saipei. You're not closing up to that Raging Royal Flush. You have to rely on Finzi's Freedom Charge, keeping the team topped up instead. Enzo holding the space with Meteor M. No one from VP wanting to try to stick their heads out to contest it, which means that that objective is closing up to checkpoint. And with Galactic Legend and no Freedom Charge for Virtus Pro to hold their ground to stop it, this should be point picked up unless Saipei can hold on and bail the team out with ult.
Nevix delays Symbiotic Resilience for as much time as they can. Raging Royal Flush comes on out. They're still looking to contest this, to make their way onto the point of VP with bodies just sent on in. They take out Naga, Dance of the Butterflies. They wipe the Vanguards of Team Heretics, taking out Beetle and chasing down the rest. And Virtus Pro, that looks done, but they find the gap.
That had to be invested as well at the tail end of the fight. You don't use Dance of the Butterflies, Heretics disengage your Gambit ult, come back with Alex's instantly. By using Dance of the Butterflies, gaining an extra elimination onto the Vanguards, you've allowed VP slightly more access towards that high ground, and you've taken more time for Heretics to be able to push back onto an objective themselves. Yes, they've got unmatched Gambit ult, but Dridro can hold the space with Fate of Both Worlds, and Virtus Pro get a fighting chance.
Face both worlds for as much of a delay as possible. Fire is just waiting for the latter end of any defenses. That Ruby Rage is at the ready, and there's a big lineup of Heretics right now. Here it comes to try and blow them up, setting from both sides as both teams tank on through, but Finzi is dropping incredibly low. Feast from the Abyss from the other side. The front line of Heretics is barely standing. Beetle falls, but the Rebirth Beacon is here. Overtime is ticking down, meaning no portal available. Enzo may have to be the one to do it, but they're holding through the fight. Ken's healing is doing so much work right now. Tanuki comes on in with the Galactic Legend. It's the only ultimate in the fight right now, along with Meteor M. There's nothing for Virtus Pro to try and hold this except their own bodies. Enzo sends the Meteor M into the backline in case there was someone flanking, but that was just throwing bodies at the point. But Saipei has delayed long enough for Raging Royal Flush again to try and take him down, but with Dridro off the board, the strategists are being taken down. Saipei falls. Ken is holding the line, at least for the moment, but they've lost that Magneto. Beetle is again having to hold the time, but no one can touch the point. Virtus Pro, they hold in the basement of the Fisk building, and wow, that could be a very strange alternate reality to last year.
It's the same situation as Museum of Contemplation. Like, almost down to the exact distance, and
Yeah.
this is where my worry for VP properly kicks in, Tetcha, because it was not the defense that they looked particularly rough on at first. It was the attack.
Yeah.
Especially on Lower Manhattan. Like, their defense on Museum was rough, but their attack on Lower Manhattan into this exact stall-out composition, like the Invisible Woman, the Adam Warlock, the Loki, Heretics, they're not here to let VP quickly take these points.
Every second will be Heretics. They want Virtus Pro to fight through every second, because that's how Heretics claim that spot in the mid-season finals and their spot in the upper bracket finals. Virtus.pro, they have to break them. They have to break this Vanguard. Vi is considering the Wolverine possibly here, even without the potential of a Cyclops, although Sparker could swap over to that. They've also got the Torch available in case there's a penny, and if not, just to shoot over the group walls. Virtus.pro, they're just working out what's going to be best here, but Heretics, they're going to old reliable.
Yeah, VP, I think when Fi scouts out triple Vanguards, likely goes onto the Wolf. So you can put the pressure onto the Mag, the Groot, the Emma when you're trying to play the objective. Looks like he's actually going to stick with the Torch since Heretics don't actually have a duelist to try to keep him in check. That job falls actually to the Adam Warlock as VP trying to play very front to back, but Finzi caught out by Groot Walls from Beetle, not going to be able to make it to Dridro's line of sight. So BRB already called into play. Heretics feeling very happy with the fact that they're able to push VP out, and that allows Ken to hit 50% to his ult.
Dark has moved over to that Elsa Bloodstone. Fire still sieging from above. Dridro descending heals down range. No reason to overstep right now. Just keep your team topped up and try and force mistakes out of Heretics. But Heretics aren't giving them the space to do so. They're still delaying, and the longer this goes on, until Virtus.pro can get those ultimates for the Gambit in particular, it's going to be Heretics building up towards a Karmic Revival, building up towards the God of Mischief for Karmic Revival, or Invisible Boundary, or even a steal onto that Raging Royal Flush. The longer VP takes to do this, the worse it's going to be for them.
I mean, Cypher's just not getting the opportunity to match Ken's ult charge, as well as Heretics aren't really poking out onto VP's players to allow healing. You do get the pick onto Adam, which means that Self Cocoon is called in, but Ken uses the copy onto Invisible Boundary, so VP don't get to take advantage of the situation. What they can take advantage of now is Cypher's ult when Heretics don't have a match for it.
Naga and Tanuki tag on through, but Tanuki's dropped incredibly low. Straggling Prison comes on in, but they lose 2 members. Naga is down, and an absolute devastation here. Virtus.pro break the line, but it's not about this one fight. Look how much time was spent into that one fight. They won it with just the Straggling Prison, the Apex Predator, and the Raging Royal Flush. But what do Heretics do? They're portaling back to do it all over again. I
mean, you at least, if your VP lose the worry of having to try and track down where exactly this Adam will be rezzing Finzi, using that Stone of Seduction, but Heretics trying to just kite around using their own Loki greens and the Strange Shield. So VP actually losing Fi. Dridro having to burn out that BRB, using Cosmic Yawn Amplifier to boost up the damage from Fi. Since Heretics have no way of shutting this down, they take cover, huddling up inside that invisible boundary, but that means, Tetcha, no one's present on the point. They have to pile outside of it, survive walking back onto that objective, and keep it stalled, sacrificing Ken, but knowing you bring him back with Karmic.
But it does mean they don't get Beetle, who was picked up early in the fight. They have to make their way back on foot here. But that's a huge revive for Heretics, allowing them to burn even more time. Only a minute left to go. Fi's on the flank, building up some more ult charge. Ken is about to have ult for a second revive, but more realistically, a Raging Royal Flush or Invisible Boundary. Tanuki could be the game changer here, though, as they have Eye of Agamotto, but they need to stay alive for it. Fi very nearly with a huge pickup there.
Ken's just waiting. VP having to be very careful, like you have to build up ults before you can push on forward. Finzi with Sonic Seduction, trying to just push Heretics off of holding this objective so that VP can get closer to that objective checkpoint, get a little bit more time. Carbon Crush onto the Strange, into the spinning kick. You've been able to get the pickup onto the Adam. Sparker sees an opportunity, a huge Apex Predator, but Alex keeps the team for the most part up with the Invisible Boundary.
The Eye of Agamotto finds nothing. Straggling Prison into the backline, though, to buy a little bit more time. Beetle is throwing everything at this. No more portals, no more revives. It's all about just sustain and delay right now for Heretics, but they're just running out of bodies. They're once again just throwing people at the point, but down goes the Vanguards. The Strategist already gone. The Duelist rolls on in for a couple extra seconds, but this will be Virtus.pro grabbing the point right before overtime hits. So the time has been eaten, but the distance is now rough. Right before point 2 is where Virtus.pro put a stop to Heretics.
No. For a moment, I saw Enzo on that Strange and was like, Is he going to try to portal map flip? You can see Fi setting up. They scouted the Doctor Strange switch, and they're setting up Pyro Prison in case Heretics decided to commit to it. As we do get the swaps away from the Loki, Adam has done his job. It's totally stalled out VP's time bank. Now you just can't afford to lose players early when you're setting up for the first fight on second, something that you've already, unfortunately, had to face. Tanuki goes down. Heretics, without that Captain America, they went for the Angela instead to put more pressure on Fi. Haven't been able to get a body on this objective, Tetra. We are barreling towards final fight territory, and Heretics do not have good ult bank to be able to stand up to take it.
Over the halfway point, Fincy coming into the background with the Captain America trying to get onto Naga, who needs healing. Assistance, please! Fincy's going to be dashing away as the Supernova comes on in. Anti-heal comes out, but Heretics tank through it, delaying. And this is the spot. This is where it fell apart for Virtus Pro last year. And Heretics have to hold here. Fincy going in for the duel, going for the 1v1. That's a lot of damage from Fincy. That's not a 1v1. The Fi comes on in with the Human Torch for a little bit of extra dueling. The Invincible Shield with the barrier. The Ruby Red Rage takes out Sparker though on the mirror. Fincy falls as well, but the car is still moving. Heretics trying to reinforce as quick as they can. It's going to force a regroup from VP.
VP don't have the players up. They lost Saipo. They can't afford to lose this next fight. They only get one chance at it. They have to go for the full regroup, but that means that you're sacrificing the opportunity of boarding up your Gambit ult before Ken has his, and Heretics have the confidence to walk. This has to be clutch plays from Virtus Pro to be able to overcome the Gambit ult deficiency, and Sparker's already down. That's devastating for Virtus Pro to have to deal with.
Beatles trying to zone, trying to just catch someone out of position. If they can stagger these pickups here, then it could be all over in favor of Team Heretics. Wrapping around from above, trying to deal with the torch that Fi has stayed on here. Needs to avoid those spears, but someone has to touch. Virtus Pro, with 17 seconds remaining, will make their way in. Fincy falls down, but Battle Reaper Baker brings it back, and he still has that freedom charge on the board. It's a full ultimate setup here for Virtus Pro as they commit to it, but Fi gets taken down early before the fight really gets going. Tanuki's going to be pulled on in with the silence induction to prevent a large chunk of that ultimate here, but Fincy is keeping this fight going because with two members down, Fi is forced to portal. Heretics with their own silence induction to try and force them off the board. Heaven's Retribution to delay, and Virtus Pro, their hopes are disappearing, but reinforcements on the left to come on in. Fi reinforces, takes out Enzo, and they're running out of time. Heretics, they could have a portal of their own, but that finish line is creeping closer. Beetle is once again on delay duty as he's been so many times before. Enzo's going to try and portal, but do they have the time? In comes Beetle for a delay. Invisible boundary from Alex to give everything they can. Sparker falls, Fi with the push to give every second they can. Ultimates aren't really available for anyone right now, meaning it comes down to the neutral to delay this. A huge play from Fi, just holding the corner for overtime, but he's being pressured by Enzo. He's dropping low. The healing output is huge right now from Heretics, forcing VP off the point, preventing them from delaying. Ultimates are building up, but Saipe has to stay alive. 87%, 90%. Ayamoto into the backline from VP. It's a double, and Heretics are deleted from the board. They still have bodies, but with the Raging Royal Flush, those bodies are being taken down, and Virtus Pro crawl inch by inch towards the finish line and straight towards the mid-season finals.
They do it. They get it done. What a stall from Fi to be able to hold on long enough for Saipe to build up that ult. We have to give the MVP to Strange, as VP are able to overcome adversary and book themselves a ticket to mid-season playoffs. Holy, what an overtime fight. That one will go down in the history books.
Strange saw 3 million possible futures. He saw last year the basement, the subway right before Fisk Building, where Virtus Pro was scuppered. And Strange said one way to turn it round. The Eye of Agamotto to lock down 2 backline members. But Ryan, Virtus Pro turn it in the last few seconds.
It's a whole different year for Virtus Pro, it feels like, as they managed to get to that event that has been haunting them ever since they missed it last year, and the fact it went that distance, I definitely agree with Moxie. There's only one MVP. It's fine. Just with what he was able to do at the very end, there was like issues on both sides, a couple of missteps here or there. You got to say Naga, like there was one point where they went for the Yarn Amplifier on a tap for Virtus Pro, and they went for the Supernova. It got interrupted. Naga managed to stun it out on Cyclops. So it was just, it threw off Virtus Pro. Their whole game plan was cycling ultimates there right at the end. You could have said Naga, you could have said Tanuki if it was on the other side. Beatles had a superb day. Enzo's sort of been leading the line perfectly. The backlines have been dealing with whatever was thrown at them. But Fi, especially because of honestly, the flack that he gets when Virtus Pro don't do well, him individually, this must feel vindicating with the performance he just put in to send his team to another international event.
I mean, for the first place, totally misplaced. The fact that, like, Fi's Daredevil was literally the crowning jewel. For Virtus Pro's Empire to be able to win out Atlanta, and it was, for the most part, off of Fi's Daredevil setup. But it has to go to him, because without that strange stalling, that fight is done.
Yeah.
Like, Virtus Pro, they lost 2 players back-to-back on fight setups very early on. We got Gampa ults invested from Saipei at the same time as Alex, but Heretics have the greater because they have Galactic Legend to accompany it. So they walk away with 2 eliminations, which stuck because VP already had to burn the BRB cooldown with Finzi dropping early. You lose the opportunity of Psionic Seduction to fully shut down the stall adult because you've lost your cap, you're losing players left and right. The EMEA is called in to be on objective to guarantee that you have the overtime, get the opportunity to portal your players back in. Heretics did a valiant effort. You see the swap from like Angela trying to just spear displace Fire's position so that VP lose line of sight of keeping the Vanguard topped up and building closer to Saipei getting that next cycle of Raging Roll flush, which is enough for Virtus Pro to finally tip the scales of the OT, of the BRB, of the closer respawns. But it came down to the wire. Without Fi being able to live that long on Strange, Heretics just win the last fight.
It was a spectacular series to qualify these teams all in for Virtus Pro. For Heretics, there is one more chance tomorrow with more teams being eliminated later on today and then a little bit earlier tomorrow. But just, Matt, you just need like room to breathe on that one. We do have an interview with Finzi, who I want to ask him about his reaction, like right at the end there, because he had his head in his hands, was just shouting.
Well, we saw the player cams. They went from, okay, this is probably unwinnable, to, wait a moment, we can lock in and we can actually win this. Like, you see the exact moment on their faces where they realize it truly is not over. We can still get through. We can still win. We don't have to go through a lower bracket.
Let's talk to the Captain America himself for Virtus Pro, Finzi. First of all, welcome. Second of all, congratulations. Third of all, I imagine a relief that you have to qualify for mid-season finals against the team that stopped you last time in that kind of fashion at the end. How do you even prepare for a series like that? How much of it is meta in the game versus honestly seeing a therapist, you know, like making sure that you don't take that like stress into the series, because that is haunting for you. It's been haunted ever since last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we wanted revenge for last year because they beat us and we didn't go to mid-season. But I think we just prepared like any other game. We were not that nervous or anything, but once we started losing, it was getting kind of nerve-wracking, especially that last fight on Midtown we just saw. I don't know how we won, but we won somehow. Shout out to Fi. That was crazy.
Fi had such a good reinforcement at the end, but also we need to point out just how much value your Captain America was giving when it was banned out. You didn't win the maps a couple times. When it was allowed through, you made the difference. Is that a lot of pressure to have that put on your back, especially when you're the one person left on the objective? That happened multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, Captain is just a really good hero. That's why both teams are like banning it back and forth. I mean, especially on Domination, it's really, really good. And the extra ultimate, like support ultimate, is always nice. But yeah, we definitely played a bit better today with Captain and off Captain. But like we weren't protecting it in the beginning, because usually in scrims we're like fine off Captain or not Captain, but it just wasn't working today. But yeah, also I want to shout out Crownfall for warming us up today and yesterday. Don't want to forget to do that.
So talk us through a little bit about like curveballs that Heretics threw, because we were talking to Shu before the game. He said that he felt like LionPro would have cooked something up to maybe catch you guys out with the ban draft. Was it something that you expected? Did Heretics do anything different which did catch you by surprise, which took slightly longer to be able to adapt around?
Yeah, I mean, in our scrims, people have not really been banning Captain at all, and people usually only ban DT on Domination, but they were doing it on every map, so we were maybe a little bit unprepared for that. That's why on our last map we also banned their DT, just so, because we know if it's a mirror match and we know we are better, so we will win the mirror, so we just gotta make sure it's a mirror.
I think one question I wanted to ask about is the maps that went wrong for you today, notably like Museum. Like you came out with this sort of like strategy with a torch to deal with a penny and stuff like that, but it basically felt that they could stall out fights for eons, whereas you guys kind of like on your defense couldn't sort of replicate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like what went wrong looking back on Museum?
Well, we know they played at 3-3 Gs with 3 tanks and 3 supports. We saw them play it yesterday, so we knew it was going to be hard on Museum, Midtown, even Lower Manhattan, and they even played some triple support on Koth too. So we knew it was going to be super hard. It's just important to like not lose hope if you lose a fight or two. But it's really hard to get through that comp. We definitely have to make some adjustments so we beat it faster next time.
And I guess final question is, I saw your player cam at the end of that. You had your like hands on your head and you were just vibrating. You were just saying stuff. I stood up and was shouting. I think like what was said, obviously keep it PG, but what was said like at the end of that, because it was frantic, right? The fact that Fi survived so long and then got an Eye of Agamotto was ridiculous.
I mean, we were mostly just saying how did we win and let's go Fi. Like when Fi hit a strange ult, the voice chat just erupted. Everyone was screaming, and everyone was screaming, "Don't C9, don't C9!" And yeah, I mean, everyone just started screaming. It was insane.
I mean, it was crazy. Honestly, like, you probably all need to go have a lay down, but you are playing against Na'Vi tomorrow in the upper bracket. You've both qualified, so 2 international winners are going to be at least going to this next event. So I'll say congrats again, Finzi, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you then. Bye-bye.
Man, I imagine that he's just probably just collapsed his chair, just like shut down, like he's
I'll be doing that
gone
after
that
this.
way. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about Heretics, I'll say that much. Like there are some bogey teams in the losers bracket Heretics will have to face up to. We'll see exactly who that's going to be later on today, actually, as with some best of 5s yet to play. But like, Tetra, this feels for Heretics like how well they can bounce back, and we know that they can do.
They lost the first map here and then immediately bounced back. We've shown that they're intelligent, we've shown that they're adaptable, and most importantly, we've shown they're so resilient. They never go down without a fight, no matter how many maps they've lost, no matter how many fights they've